meanwhile, in less than a month daw po, this is the 6th storm or isang malakas na sama ng panahon na pumasok sa ating bansa. They're asking, sir, kung ito ba ay normal pa ba o definitely ito ay early signs na rin ng actual climate change effect sa Pilipinas.
Salamat sa katanungan. Kung ito ay directly dulot ng climate change, it could be an indicative na signs of a changing climate. Pero bakit mas marami ang mga bagyo ngayon? Di ba nagpalabas tayo ng La Nina alert, no? So, but currently, ang status natin is still a cool and so neutral condition. Bakit natin siya or a La Nina-like condition still persists? Currently, ay hindi pa nare-reach yung La Nina condition, pero ang karagatan ngayon na malapit sa Pilipinas ay napakainit. So, ang usually condition pag La Nina, mas mainit sa Western Sea o kaya Philippine Sea. So, currently, nasa 30 degrees. Di ba ang mga bagyo ay na-form 27 degrees or more? So, yung karagatan natin ngayon ay nasa, kahit hindi natin mariting yung La Nina condition, ay ang condition ngayon ay nasa La Nina-like condition wherein we have warmer sea surface temperatures near the Philippine area, no? So yun yung nararanasan natin ngayon. So kung matutuloy ba ang La Nina, ang latest natin ngayon na forecast is we have a 50% chance pa rin, pero bumababa siya. So kahit hindi magtuloy yung La Nina na yan, dahil sa kondisyon ngayon ng karagatan sa malapit sa Pilipinas, ay namumuo ang mga malalakas na bagyo. So it's very, very din na super typhoon, ang dami sunod-sunod. So we could say na this could be a signal of a changing climate.
Thank you, ma'am. Follow-up ko lang din po doon. The NASA Earth Observatory this morning released po yung isang picture na medyo nakagather ng atensyon ng publiko ngayong umaga. Yung 4 na bagyo, yung Marce na tinatawag na Toraji at saka yung Nika, Ophel, and then itong Pipito. Since 1951 daw po, ma'am, ay ito ang first time na merong 4 na active na bagyo sa Western Pacific region. Ano pong kahit na reaction lang ng Pag-asa on this or any clarification po on our end na ito ay first time lang na nangyari?
I think in the past na ay nangyari din naman in the past, no? So I will confirm yung actual na datos, I don't have here. Pero based dun sa namin, hindi naman to una na nagkaroon ng 4 na bagyo for this month. So mayroon naman.
Okay na po. Thank you, Sir Jello from IBC.
2020. Yeah.
Sige, follow-up question, sir?
Apo. Sir, yung lang sa bagyong Pepito, kailan po siya itataas into super typhoon? At saka, question po nung desk, factor po ba na mainit daw po yung ocean kaya po lalakas itong bagyo into super typhoon?
So, base po dun sa presentation, ina-expect po natin na bukas, bago mag-landfall, ay pwede po, hindi natin nire-rule out yung possibility na maging super typhoon po ito. And then, tama po kayo, ang pinaka-fuel talaga po ng bagyo for it to intensify further ay ang mainit po na karagatan dito po sa malapit po sa Pilipinas.
Ma'am, for soundbite, can you expound paano na nangyayari yon na mainit kaya mag-intensify into a super typhoon?
Ang mainit na karagatan po, usually po, dahil mainit yung temperatura, so nagiging lowest yung pressure sa baba. So nasusustain niya po yung pagbubuo ng mga thunderstorm clouds na nagpapasustain sa structure po ng ating bagyo. So pag medyo malamig po kasi medyo mas madalangin na yung thunderstorm na dumudugtong doon po sa circulation po ng bagyo. Kailangan po continuous po ang formation po ng mga thunderstorm within the radius or diameter po ng bagyo.
Ma'am, sorry, makulit.
Opo.
Baka po kaya in layman's term para mas bagets ng public. Kung kaya, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So bakit lumalakas ang mga bagyo? Ang source natin, kung tayo nagpapakulo ng tubig, 'di ba? Mainit, 'di ba? So tumataas yung gumagaan siya. So yun at pag tumataas ay gumagaan yung magkakaroon ng sirkulasyon, 'di ba? So ang isang first na titingnan mo kung mainit yung environment. Kung nakita natin ngayon ay mas mainit kaysa normal. Yung dati na mga ay halimbawa 2 lang yung bagyo pag November is mas maraming bagyo ang pwedeng mabuo. Ngayon, as mas mainit ay 30 degrees recently. So yung at least 27 degrees ay magkaroon ng bagyo. So talagang pwedeng yung enerhiya na para mabuo ang isang bagyo ay ang dulot niyan ay dahil sa mainit na karagatan. Yeah. Rising air, no? So pag nag-rise siya, pwede kang magpaulan ng marami, hindi lang yung hangin, kundi yung malakas na pag-ulan ay kasama. So tandaan po natin, kahit paliwanag natin ito, ang dulot ng malalakas na bagyo ay hindi lang yung hangin, pat yung kaakibit na ulan. So tandaan natin na sunod-sunod ang bagyo at iisa lang ang halos dinadaanan Northern Luzon. So ating mga kababayan, ang dapat tingnan natin yung days ahead, no anticipatory action natin, early action, based sa binibigay na babala ni Pag-asa sana. So para hindi na nating antayin yung oras na dumating yung nung ay sa atin. So days ahead tayo. At we look at the worst case scenario. We look at no regrets action para tayo ay handa at tayo ay safe sa ating lahat ng mga komunidad natin. So, salamat po.
Ma'am, if I may
Go
add
ahead,
lang
sir.
siguro. So, yung sea surface temperature, isa lang yan sa nagpapalakas ng bagyo. Siguro after this, we can explain it to you further. Isa lang naman factor yung sea surface temperature. May iba pang factor na kung bakit lumalakas talaga yan. So, I think our forecaster can explain it to you.
Dagdag ko rin na kapag mataas ang sea surface temperature, hindi lang lumalakas ang bagyo but ito may dalang malalakas na pag-ulan. Kasi kapag mataas ang temperatura ng dagat, it will encourage more evaporation of water vapor sa itaas ng ating atmosphere. At kung ano man ang water vapor na umaakyat pataas, ibabagsak. Ito in a form of rainfall. Simpleng explanation.
Sir, which brings me to my to my next question. Sa budget hearing ng Senate sa Pag-asa, ni-raise ni Sen. Tolentino yung concern na that State Weather Bureau has been using terms that are not easily understood by the public. And yung pag-issue rin daw po sana ng mga weather bulletins in different Filipino languages. Are we studying that po ba?
Yes, yung pag-translate siguro ng mga warning messages namin into different languages. Isa siguro ito yung mga immediate na gagawin namin. At in fact, ginagawa na namin sa ibang mga regional areas dahil yung through our regional services division, ang pinalabas na Pag-asa ng mga warnings, warning on heavy rainfall at hangin dahil dulot ng mga lakas ng bagyo ay tinatranslate nila into local dialects But dito po sa National Forecasting Center, we will look into that. In fact, gagawin namin translate into Tagalog, no, para mas madadali. Yes. And although may rainfall warning na kaming ginawa with rainfall advisory with longer lead time, 24 hours, even up to 3 days, no. Gawin pa namin up to 5 days siguro 'yon. Hindi lamang yung amount ng rainfall but may kaakibat ito na ano ang mga potential na impacts or effects doon sa maapektuhan ng mga lugar.
Tapos,
Dagdagan ko lang siguro yung yung mga term na ginagamit. So may mga alam naman natin may mga limitations talaga ang pag-translate ng ano. So ang siguro pagsusumikapan namin gamin ay yung mga term na hindi pwedeng i-translate talaga into Filipino o into different dialect, i-explain na lang mas layman's as possible kung para mas maintindihan nila yung it's either yung effect na nun, hindi na yung term mismo kasi may mga limitations talaga. Hindi natin kayang i-translate talaga lahat ng mga terms.
Tapos sir, sorry, ang daming patanong ng desk. Yun lang sa binanggit po ni Sen Coco. Yun daw pong, for example, dun sa mga rainfall warnings, bakit daw instead of colors, yung red, yellow, kasi sabi niya, neutral yung mga colors eh. So bakit daw hindi na lang numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 is the most severe para mas madali pong maintindihan daw ng public.
Well, pag-aaralan po namin. Salamat sa suggestions. Pag-aaralan po namin yon. Pero sa ngayon, ang naisip ng pag-asa, mas ano yung mga tao pag yung visual, yung papakita mo, tumatatak agad sa kanila, lalong-lalo na sa social media. Kapag ma-visual, yung may kulay talaga yung mga warnings, mas madali nilang naiintindihan. So, pero yung suggestion ni Senator Pimentel, kukonsider namin at pag-aaralan na. Thank you.
Tapos yung last na lang, yung sa Doppler radars, yung of the 19, 11 lang yung gumagana. Gaano ba kahalaga itong mga Doppler radars na ito? And talaga bang kailangan ng budget for this?
Yes, ang Doppler radars network namin, tama yung numbers na binigay mo. Isa sa mga mahalagang monitoring equipment na nagbibigay ng more reliable information, particularly on rainfall, specific areas, no. And then we can implement mga tawag namin dito nowcasting. For example, in 2 hours, saang lugar ang pwedeng mag-uulan, mas specific and accurate. Now, dahil 11 lang ang gumaganang radar, it doesn't mean na may mga blind areas na hindi na-cover ng radar dahil ang numbers na 19 ay na-planned in such a way na may redundancy, in such a way na kapag nasira or non-operational yung isa, ay makover ng isa. Like in Metro Manila, mayroong Tagaytay and Subic tayo. In Visayas, nandiyan ang Cebu, but nearby, nandiyan ang Bohol, no? Even ang Iloilo. Dito sa area na tatahakin ng bagyong Pipito, nandiyan bagamat ang Virac is not operational, nandiyan yung Lawang, ang pinakabagong, isa sa mga pinakabagong radar namin sa may Northern Samar, then ang Daet, and of course ang Baler, at plus of course ang Tagaytay. Of course, nandiyan pa rin ang Masbate na isa din sa pinakabagong radar. Okay. Sa 8 na hindi operational, 3 doon ay for upgrading and replacement kasi funded na ng ating pamahalaan. At ang 3 naman ay under repair and maintenance. We're just waiting for the spares. Kasi hindi naman kaagad na available sa market yung mga spares. May importation na it takes time bago ma-deliver.
Thank you very much. Baka may mga gusto pa pong magtanong sa ating mga kaibigan sa media dito sa ating media room. So kung wala na po ay siguro pasadaan natin yung ilan sa mga katanungan na natanggap natin through our official FB page ng DOST Pag-asa. No? Pasadaan lang natin yung ilan sa mga naging katanungan ng ating mga stakeholders joining us online. So ang unang tanong po ay maraming nagtanong po nito, no? From the Bicol region, no? Yung ating mga kababayan sa Bicol region. Kasama na po si Karen May Israel Fisher. Ang tanong po nila, bakit po ang init pa dito sa Bicol kahit may signal na? Yun po yung katanungan. So perhaps si Doc Nats or...
Kaya yun ang gusto naming i-emphasize na sabi na ni June, kasama namin, Deputy Administrator for Operations. Kapag nag-raise kami ng signal number 1, it doesn't mean ma-experience na natin kaagad ang lakas ng hangin. Ano? Ang lead time nito 36 hours pa, meaning 2.5 days pa. 1.5 days pa bago maramdaman yung kakibat na lakas ng hangin. But of course, ang Pipito ay nasa karagatan pa at ang kanyang sirkulasyon ay hindi naman gaanong kalawak kumpara ng kay Nika, kaya hindi pa naramdaman ng ang epekto nito sa may Bicol area. But in the coming hours, particularly siguro starting tomorrow morning, ito ay definitely maramdaman nila.
Thank you po, Dr. Nats. Ayan. So, it only means na yun po ay yung ating opportune time for preparedness. Ano po? Ayan. So, another question from our stakeholder from Jason Sigales ng Inquirer.net. Ask ko lang po, what specific time naging typhoon si Pepito? Specific time daw po na naging typhoon category ang bagyong si Pepito. Perhaps our on-duty forecaster, si Ma'am Liza.
So for Pipito po ay naging typhoon po ito ngayong alas 8 po ng umaga. And ina-expect nga po natin na it will further intensify pa hanggang bukas po bago mag-landfall.
Thank you, Ma'am Liza. Yan. Another question from Ira Madayag. This is quite, hindi po siya masyadong related sa mga bagyo, pero still related sa ating panahon. No? So this question goes to Ma'am Telma Cinco of CAD. No? Kailan daw po ang posibleng onset ng ating hanging amihan at may epekto daw po ba yung La Nina sa pagdami ng mga bagyo? Ayun po.
So nakikita natin na after maybe next week we will be mag-set in na yung northeast monsoon. So yung katanungan na may epekto ba yung mga bagyo ngayon. So kanina napaliwanag ko na mas mainit banda sa ating pag-La Nina. So mas maraming posibleng mga bagyo.
Thank you very much. Ayan. So related din po yung question ni Mr. Daddy, ano? Nasagot na ni Ma'am Telma, no, yung tungkol sa amihan. Okay. Another question from Sir Alan. Opo.
Although nakapokus po tayo kay Pipito, ngayon pa lang ho ba may nakikita ba tayong kasunod ni Pipito na nasa labas po ng Philippine Area of Responsibility?
So far, do sa aming, pag nakita niyo yung ating TC threat for next week, ay magpapahinga muna ang mga bagyo. So that
may
is...
pahinga po tayo ng isang linggo.
Hopefully. So yun
Hopefully.
yung ating nakikita, yung sa ating TC threat.
Thank you, Sir Alan, ng GMA DCWB. And of course, ating nagsagot si Ma'am Telma. No? Ayan. Another question from Marvin Torre Esma. Bakit po sa ibang app pataas po ang track ni Pepito? Posible po ba magbago pa ang dadaanan? Si Ma'am Telma. Oh, si Ma'am Glyza.
So balikan po natin yung truck ni Pipito, no? So, ito po yung current position po niya o kung saan po siya nandito. So, ito pong sentro po ng tracking po natin. Pwede pa po yung magbago dahil po, lagi po natin binabanggit, meron pa rin pong cone of probability po yan habang tumatagal po yung forecast period po natin. So, may mga uncertainties pa po yan. So, may marami pong tools tayong tinitingnan. So, ang possibility na pwede pang umangat yung track at bumaba ay nandoon pa rin po. Yun po yung gusto ipaliwanag po ng ating forecast track as well as yung cone of probability po.
Thank you, Ma'am Glyza. A couple more questions po sa ating online. Ayan, from Ryan Bolivar Bernales. Ang tanong po niya is kung similar daw po ba yung track ni Rolly tsaka ni Pepito? Kung may similarity daw po ba? Yung naging track noon ni Rolly, Bagyong Rolly, noong at anong year nga ito? Hindi ko matandaan. 2020 yata. 2021. Kung may similarities po ba ang track ni Bagyong Rolly tsaka ni Bagyong Pepito? Siguro we can check din po doon sa mga resources natin sa website, no? Kasi marami namang information regarding that. Baka may dadagdag si Ma'am Glyza or si Sir Jun.
Sa ngayon po, wala po tayong datos ng Rolly po, no? Kaya hindi po natin mako-compare talaga side by side. Although matagal na po ako dito, ang naalala kong bagyo na tumama po sa Catanduanes ay either yung bagyong Nona po or bagyong Nina. That is 2015 or 2016 po. So ito po yung pinaka-recent po na bagyo na tumama po sa Catanduanes area. So yun lang po ang masasabi po natin ngayon dahil po ang yung Rolly po kasi ay from east of Northern Luzon, base po sa datos na nandito, ay bumaba siya ng dire-diretso hanggang dito po sa Catanduanes. So may pagkakaiba po yung kanilang track po. Ang track po ng Pipito ngayon ay dito po sa east po ng Visayas ay nag-southwestward po ito and then magmumove po ito ng west-northwestward. Samantala, ang Rolly po, from this point, ay bumaba po dire-diretso papunta pong Catanduanes po yung bagyo. So, very different po yung track nila. Although yung landfall area po ay parehas po for bagyong Rolly.
Thank you, Ma'am Gly. Another question regarding bagyo, no? Ano daw po yung diameter ng bagyo ng itong bagyo nating si Pepito? And if may kalintulad daw po sa diameter or radius ni bagyong Nika. Sir Jun.
Yung ngayon yung diameter niya halos nasa almost 800 kilometer yung diameter. Pero ibang mas malaki pa rin si si Nika. Pero almost same lang. You can compare.
Thank you, Sir Jun. And siguro ito na yung last nating question before we finally wrap up. From Marco Pielajo. Ano po ang worst case scenario for Metro Manila na expected po and when po ito or kung kailan daw po ito maaaring maramdaman dito sa NCR? Sige. Ma'am Glyza siguro.
So, worst case po for Metro Manila, highest possible wind signal, possible pa rin po yung 3 and 4. And then kung super typhoon po ay may slight probability po ng signal 5. Pero worst case po natin ay mag-raise po na sa Metro Manila ng wind signal 3 or 4. Base po dito sa ating forecast track.
And unless na mag-change ng movement ang bagyo, bumagal or ay during the weekend ang maring maranasan dito sa Metro Manila.
Thank you, Dr. Nats and Ma'am Glyza. More or less, na-cover naman po natin lahat ng ating mga katanungan. Although, alam ko may mga maaari pang posibleng tanong na nasa isip ng ating mga stakeholders. But then again, we encourage everyone to check out our website and some other applications, particularly ang ating Hazard Hunter ng DOST. And of course, yung ating Pag-asa website, pagasa.dost.gov.ph. It's a rich source of information, including yung mga educational materials ay nakapaloob po dito sa ating website na you may check out anytime you wish as long as you have a good internet connection. Ayan po. So more or less we've covered everything, no? And with the interest of time, perhaps it's now due to us to finally wrap up our press conference this morning, afternoon na po, no? So para po sa ating panghuling mensahe ay ating hinga ng pahayag, konting pahayag ang ating officer in charge ng Office of the Deputy Administrator for Operations and Services, Engineer Juanito Galang.
So maraming salamat po at magandang tanghali sa atin lahat. So maraming salamat po sa mga media, mga kaibigan natin na dumating dito sa ngayon. So gusto ko lang pong i-emphasize yung kahalagahan ng tamang pangunawa at pagtugon sa mga babala na ibinibigay po ng Pag-asa at ng mga lokal na pamahalaan. So gusto ko lang bigyan diin yung lead time na kung sa ngayon hindi pa po natin nararamdaman o nararanasan sa inyong lugar yung epekto ng bagyong si Pepito, nais po nang bigyan diin ang halaga ng lead time. Ito po yung binibigay namin ito para mabigyan ng sapat na time o oras na makapaghanda tayo. So ito po ay upang maiwasan natin ang mga posibleng epekto na pwedeng idulot ng bagyong si Pepito. So ngayon po, wala pa tayong nararamdaman. Maghanda na po tayo at mag-ingat po tayong lahat. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much. And that formally wrap-ups our press conference ngayon pong umaga. Marami pong salamat sa lahat na nakibahagi po, lalong-lalo nating mga kaibigan sa pamamahayag from various media organizations and of course yung ating mga kasamahan sa DOST. DOST Pag-asa, headed by our Administrator Dr. Nathaniel T. Servando. Muli po ako po si Bernard Punsalan at muli po ang ating paalala sa ating mga kababayan. Mag-ingat po tayo and manatiling nakaantabay sa lahat ng updates ng Pag-asa. Ang ating next na briefing ay mamayang 5:00 po ng hapon. So muli po, maraming po salamat. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
Once again, magandang tanghali na po sa ating lahat, sa ating mga media partners, colleagues, at sa iba pang nakatutok online sa presko na ito. Pagkatapos maglandfall ang bagyong Ophel at sa kasalukuyan ay nasa Luzon Strait, although bagamat na nag-weekend slightly, nakatutok tayo muli dito sa isang bagyo na naman na sumusunod. Ito po yung bagyong Pipito na kagabi ay ito ay pumasok sa Philippine Area of Responsibility. Ang bagyong Pipito ay pang-apat na bagyo sa buwang ito at pang-16 na bagyo for this year. At of course, as of the latest, ito ay naging isang typhoon at inasahan natin na habang papalapit sa kalupaan ng Pilipinas ay mag-intensify pa ito further. Ito ay may dalang hazards, napakalakas na pag-ulan at hangin at of course maaaring magdulot ng mga pagbaha at landslide at magdulot din ng storm surge. At ito ay inasahan makaapekto sa mga lugar ng una ang Eastern Visayas, Bicol area, region, Quezon, maging ang Central Luzon. At very critical ang mga susunod na mga oras within 24 hours dahil may kabilisan ang takbo ng bagyong Pipito. Ang kilos nito ay westward at a speed of 30 kilometers per hour. Mamaya ibigay ang detalye about itong bagyong Pipito. Muli, pinapayuhan natin ang ating mga kababayan na maaga pa lang ay paghandaan itong bagyong Pipito dahil lubhang may dalang panganib ito dahil sa kanyang taglay na lakas. At of course, kung maaari ay mas maaga ay makapag-prepare, gaya ng sundin ang mga pinairal na mga iba't ibang paghahanda ng mga lokal na pamahalaan at of course, antabayan lagi ang mahalagang informasyon na binibigay ng Pag-asa upang mapaghandaan itong bagyong Pipito at sanay as usual hagad na po namin na maging ligtas lahat at mahalaga po ang informasyon na ibibigay ng Pag-asa at of course ang respond ng ating mga lokal na pamahalaan. Magandang umaga po.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nathaniel T. Servando, ang ating administrator ng DOST Pag-asa. Sa dakong ito ay ating alamin naman ang ating latest updates hinggil sa ating dalawang binabantayang bagyo. Makakasama natin ang Senior Weather Specialist and Duty Forecaster ng Weather Division na other than Miss Mariana Glyza G. Esculiar.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Salamat po ulit sa ating mga kasamahan sa media para po sa pagpapalagana po ng warning po na binibigay po ng Pag-asa kasabay po sa pagtulong po natin sa mga disaster managers at local government units. Ito po ang update sa dalawang bagyo na nasa loob ng Philippine Area of Responsibility, ang Severe Tropical Storm Ophel at ang Typhoon Pipito. Ang bagyong Ophel po from typhoon ay isa na po ngayong severe tropical storm. Huling namataan po natin 195 km kanluran po yan ng Itbayat, Batanes. Taglay po nito ngayon ang lakas na hangin na 110 km per hour, malapit sa gitna at bugsong aabot naman hanggang 135 km per hour. Ito po ay naasang kikilos pahilaga-hilagang kanluran sa bilis na 20 km per hour. Ito po muna ang mga babala po natin kaugnay po sa bagyong Ophel. Susunod po natin ang bagyong Pipito. Ang bagyong Ophel po ay inaasahan po natin na patuloy na kikilos ng pahilaga-hilagang kanluran at ito po ay inaasahan pong mag-exit po pansumandali ng Parpo bukas po ng hapon. Ito po ay maaring pumasok ulit ng Philippine Area of Responsibility at kumilos ng pahilagang silangan at maglandfall po dito sa Taiwan. At paglandfall niya po sa Taiwan, may posibilidad po siyang maging isang low pressure area na lamang. sa susunod pong mga araw. Ito po ay sa Monday. So sa ngayon po, nakataas pa rin po ang wind signal number 2 sa Batanes. Ito po yon. At wind signal number 1 naman po sa northern portion ng Cagayan. Dito po sa may Babuyan Islands, northern portion ng Apayao, at dito po sa northern portion ng Ilocos Norte. Sa mga susunod pong issuance po ng bulletin po natin, inaasahan po natin na unti-unti na pong mawawala yung mga wind signal po natin sa dulong Hilagang Luzon. Ano naman po ang kaakibat pa rin pag-ulan ng OFEL? Mga significant rainfall po na maaari pong idulot within 24 hours. Ang may babala na lang po para sa mga malalakas na pag-ulan ay ang Batanes. Asahan po ang katamtaman hanggang sa malakas ng pag-ulan sa Batanes within 24 hours. Kaakibat pa rin po ng bagyong OFEL, meron pa rin po tayong nakataas na gale warning dito po sa may Batanes, Babuyan Islands at northern coast po ng Ilocos Norte. Maalon pa rin po hanggang sa napakaalon po ng karagatan sa bahagi yan ng ating bansa. Kaya naman po yung ating mga kababayan na gumagamit ng maliliit na sasakyang pandagat, bawal pa rin yung pumalaot. Pero expected po natin mamaya hapon, maaari na po nating i-lift yung gale warning po dito po sa dulong Hilagang Luzon habang papalayo po ang bagyong OFEL. Samantala po, pagkatapos po natin na makita po yung mga babala tungkol sa bagyong OFEL, ay dito po naman tayo dumako sa bagyong Pepito na pumasok nga po ng Philippine Area of Responsibility kagabi. Huling namataan naman po ito ng Pag-asa, 630 km po silangan po ng Giwan, Eastern Samar. Taglay na po nito ang lakas na hangin ngayon na 130 km per hour malapit sa gitna at ang bugso ng hangin po ay umaabot po hanggang 160 km per hour. Inaasahang patuloy na kikilos ng westward sa bilis na 30 km per hour. May kabilisan po ang bagyong ito. Base po sa ating track, mapapansin po natin may kababaan po ang lokasyon po ng bagyong Pepito po sa ngayon. At ito po ay naasahan po nating magla-landfall po base po sa track po natin sa Catanduanes. Bukas po yan ng gabi hanggang Sunday po. Yun po yung possible landfall time po natin. Ngunit mapapansin po natin, gaya po ng laging pinapaliwanag po ng Pag-asa, kahit ito po ang forecast track po natin ngayon, may tinatawag po tayong cone of probability. Ito po yon. So pwede pong mag-vary o pwede pong mag-landfall dito po from Northern Samar to Sorsogon, Albay, Camarines Sur, ay pwede pong mag-landfall din po yan base po sa ating uncertainty cone. So hindi lang po Catanduanes ang dapat po nating tutukan sa mga susunod na araw. Kaya kailangan po mag-prepare po yung mga areas po dito po sa Samar Provinces, Bicol Region, Calabarzon, ilang bahagi po ng Mimaropa, Central Luzon at Northern Luzon. Dahil po, base po sa ating track, ay maaari pong tahakin yung mga rehiyon na yan ng bagyong Pepito. Inaasahan din po natin na ang Pepito ay patuloy po na mag-intensify hanggang makalapit po siya dito sa may area po ng Bicol at Samar Provinces. At inaasahan po natin na bukas po ng gabi at Sunday early morning ay tuluyan po itong mag-landfall nga dito sa areas po, either dito sa Northern Samar, Bicol Region, specifically po sa Catanduanes. Nakataas na po ang wind signal number 2 sa eastern portion ng Northern Samar. Ito po yon. At sa northern portion ng Eastern Samar. At wind signal number 1 naman po sa northeastern portion po ng Quezon Province, southeastern portion ng Quezon Province, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, Albay, Sorsogon, Masbate, kasama po dyan ang Burias at Ticao Islands. At dito po sa Northern Samar, nalalabing bahagi ng Northern Samar, at nalalabing bahagi po ng Eastern Samar, kasama na po ang probinsya po ng Biliran. Inaasahan din po natin na habang papalipit ang bagyo, ay itataas po natin yung mga warning signal dito po sa areas po kung saan nakataas na po ang wind signal number 2 and number 1. So dito po sa Bicol region at dito po sa Samar provinces, expect po natin na pwede pong itaas po ng pag-asa ang wind signal dyan into 3, 4, and 5 pag naging super typhoon po ang bagyong Pipito once lumapit po siya ng landmass po. So hindi po natin nirule out na bago mag-landfall ay pwede pong maging super typhoon ang bagyong Pipito. Sa babala naman po sa pag-ulan, inaasahan po natin na bukas po ng tanghali hanggang Sunday po ng tanghali ay meron pong torrential na mga pag-ulan dito po sa Catanduanes, Albay, Sorsogon at Northern Samar. Heavy to intense naman po ang mga pag-ulan dito po sa Eastern Samar, Camarines Sur at Camarines Norte. Samantala, katamtaman hanggang sa malakas na mga pag-ulan naman po ang inaasahan natin. Sa Quezon Province, Masbate, kasama po dyan ang Burias at Ticao Islands. Dito po sa Samar at dito po sa may Biliran, kasama na po ang Leyte Province. Simula naman po linggo ng tanghali hanggang Monday po ng tanghali, inaasahan natin na dadami po yung lugar na magkakaroon po ng malalakas na pag-ulan. Simulan po natin sa intense to torrential. Ibig sabihin po, walang humpay po ang mga pag-ulan na inaasahan po natin dito po sa areas kung saan po nakapula po yung mapa. So dito po sa Aurora, Quezon, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, inaasahan natin habang dumadaan ang bagyong Pipito ay walang humpay po ang pag-ulan dyan kasabay po ng kanyang pagdaan. Samantalang matitinding pag-ulan din po ang inaasahan pa rin sa Albay, Sorsogon, Northern Samar, Marinduque, Cavite, Laguna, Rizal, Metro Manila, Bulacan at Nueva Ecija. Samantala naman po, katamtaman hanggang sa mga malalakas na pag-ulan naman po ang inaasahan pa rin dito po sa Samar, Eastern Samar, Masbate, kasabay na po ang Romblon, Oriental Mindoro, Batangas, Pampanga, Bataan, Zambales, Tarlac, Pangasinan, Nueva Vizcaya at Carino. Kung mapapansin po natin, yung buong Luzon, kasama na po yung malaking bahagi ng Eastern Visayas, ay sakop po ng hazards po na maaring idulot po ng bagyong Pipito habang ito po ay namamaybay dito sa rehiyon po ng Eastern Visayas, Bicol Region, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Central Luzon, at meron din pong area sa Northern Luzon. Samantala naman po, ang banta po ng storm surge sa bagyong Ophel, hindi po ito na-tackle kanina, meron pa rin po dito, 1 to 2 meters pa rin po dito sa Batanes, Cagayan, Ilocos Norte at Ilocos Sur. Samantala, ang bagyong Pipito po ay may banta po ng storm surge dito po sa bahagi po ng Catanduanes, Camarines Sur, Camarines Norte, Masbate at Quezon Province. Kasama po ang kanlurang bahagi po ng Sorsogon. 2.1 to 3 meters po ang storm surge na maaling idulot po ng pagdaan ng bagyong Pipito. Samantala sa Albay naman, Biliran, nalalabing bahagi ng Camarines Sur, Eastern Samar, Northern Samar, Quezon, Samar, at ito po yung Samar, western part ng Samar po yan, at Sorsogon, inaasahan naman po na 1 to 2 meters naman po ang pwedeng storm surge na maidulot po sa pagdaan po ng bagyong Pipito. Para po sa mga kababayan ko po sa Bicol, magpaparata kita sa maabot na bagyong Pipito.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mariana Glyza G. Escollar, ang ating Senior Weather Specialist and Duty Forecaster ng Weather Division. Para naman po sa ating mga hydrological updates, sa ating mga dams na binabantayan, gayon din yung ating mga major river basins, nandito po kasama natin ang Duty Hydrologist and Weather Specialist 2 ng Hydromet Division, si Engineer Richard Orendain.
Yes, good afternoon. Magandang tanghali po sa ating lahat, lalong-lalo na sa ating media partners. Magandang tanghali po. So, hydrological updates po tayo sa dams and river basins na binabantayan po natin. So kaninang alas 8 ng umaga, elevation ng Angat Dam is 201.29. Bahagya pa rin siyang bumaba ng 15 centimeter. And medyo may kalayuan pa sa normal high water level na 210. But inaasahan natin na may malalakas na mga pag-ulan within the watershed ng Angat Dam. Kaya naka-red alert na po tayo dito. Nag-issue po tayo ng, nag-commence na po tayo ng flood warning along Angat Dam. Anytime po, kapag nagsimula yung mga pag-ulan within the watershed ng Angat Dam, posible po itong magbukas or magpakawala ng tubig. Samantalang ang Ipo Dam po ay 100.09 and bahagya siyang bumaba ng 22 cm. Kapag sakaling nagpalabas po ng tubig itong Angat Dam, automatic po magbubukas din ang Ipo Dam, padadaanin yung tubig po doon dahil downstream ng Angat Dam is Ipo Dam. Lamesa Dam sa ngayon is 79.54. Naka-red alert pa rin tayo. Nasa critical elevation pa rin ang Lamesa Dam. So kapag may mga pag-ulan, lalong-lalo na sa watershed din ng Lamesa Dam, at umabot po ito sa 80.15. Excess po doon, itatapon po kusa. Wala pong gate ang Lamesa Dam, hindi po natin makokontrol yung paglabas ng tubig niyan. Kaya pinag-iingat din natin ang mga nakatira po dito po downstream ng Lamesa Dam, dito po sa Tulyahan River, na maging alerto po by Sunday hanggang Monday dahil yun po yung kasagsagan ng malalakas na ulan dito po sa Metro Manila. Samantalang yung Cascading Dam from Bukod Benguet down to Pangasinan, ito pong mga dams natin, yung Ambuklao, Binga, and San Roque. For Ambuklao Dam, 751.35 yung elevation niya kaninang umaga. And although nagpapakawala siya pero tumaas pa rin. 35 cm yung itinaas niya. Nakabukas siya ng one gate. 30 cm yung total opening niya and total discharge niya is umaabot po ng 60.08 cubic meter per second. Sasaluhin po ito ng Binga Dam. For Binga Dam is 574.47. Tumas pa rin siya ng 64 cm. And nakabukas pa rin, one gate, 30 cm yung total opening niya and 104.9 ang inilalabas na tubig po, 104.9 cubic meter per second. Samantalang San Roque Dam is nakasara ngayon. Isinara po ito nung 2 days ago. Sa ngayon is 278.67 yung elevation niya. Halos malapit na po ito sa 280 na normal high water level. And makikita natin yung deviation from normal high water level to reservoir water level is 1.33 meters na lang. So ang ibig sabihin po nito, anytime po, ang San Roque Dam, kapag umulan, dito po sa watershed ng San Roque Dam, posible itong magpakawala ng tubig. Samantalang Pantabangan Dam, 210.44, kaninang alas 8 ng umaga, 14 cm yung itinaas niya, and very safe kung titingnan natin, very safe ang Pantabangan Dam dahil may kalayuan pa po ito sa normal high water level niya at 221 meters. While Magat Dam is 185.43, 1.7 meters yung ibinaba niya, and hanggang sa ngayon po, 2 gates ang nakabukas and 3 meters po ang total opening niya, and umaabot po ng 745.61 cubic meter per second ang nilalabas na tubig po papuntang Magat River. And hanggang sa kasalukuyan po, ang Magat River is punong-puno po ng tubig. So, may mga pagbaha na nangyayari simula pa nung nakaraang araw hanggang sa ngayon po is lubog pa rin sa baha yung along Magat River. Samantala, nagpalabas po tayo ng hydrological situation na dahil nga po sa pagpapakawala ng Ambuklao and Binga Dam. Affected area po sa pagpapakawala ng Ambuklao is ito po, isang barangay. Ito po yung barangay Ambuklao dito po sa Bukod, Benguet. And then yung downstream ng Ambuklao Dam, which is yung Binga Dam. Yung pagpapakawala po ng Binga Dam, 2 barangay po yan. Ito po yung barangay Dalupirip and barangay Tinungdan dito po sa Itogon, Benguet. Samantala, Sa Magat Dam naman po, affected areas sa pagpapakawala ng Magat Dam. Ito pong Alfonso Lista, dito po sa Municipality of Alfonso Lista, dito po sa Ifugao. And then municipalities of Isabela, Ramon, San Mateo, Aurora, Cabatuan, Luna, Reyna Mercedes, Burgos, Nagilian, and Gamo. And then after Gamo, yung tubig na pinakawala ng Magat Dam is papasok po ito sa main Cagayan River. So hanggang diretso na po ito, yung pinaka-mouth niya or yung outlet niya is dito po sa Apari, Cagayan. And ang bale, yung pinakapakawala ng tubig ng Magat Dam, yung lag time nito from spillway hanggang dito po sa Gamo is umaabot po ng 6 hours and 30 minutes. So bago makarating ng Gamo, yung tubig from spillway is 6 hours 30 minutes. Ganun lang po kaiksi yung oras na yan. Samantala, mayroon pa rin tayong flood bulletin number 9 dito po sa Cagayan River Basin dahil nga po hanggang sa ngayon is mayroon pa rin mga pagbaha na nararanasan ng ating mga kababayan. Lalong-lalo na, though may slow recession na po, pero may mga baha pa rin hanggang sa ngayon. Katulad sa station natin dito sa Pangal, dito sa Etiaga, Isabela, medyo bahagyanan bumababa yung tubig dyan and flooding is no longer dito po sa lugar ng San Agustin, Jones, Etiaga, Alicia, Angandanan, Kawayan, Nagilian, and Reyna Mercedes. Samantalang dito po sa Maris Station, dito po sa Ramon, Isabela, medyo bahagyang bumababa pero still may mga baha sa lugar na yon. Pero karamihan po is bumaba na. Samantalang sa Middle Cagayan, particularly dito sa Gamo Station natin, continuous po yung pagbaba ng tubig dyan. Dito po sa Gamo, Ilagan, and San Mariano. Samantalang sa Tumawini Station natin, ganun pa man, patuloy na bumababa. Though still may mga baha pa rin na nararanasan. Particularly dito po sa Tumawini, Delfin Albano, Santo Tomas, Cabagan, Santa Maria, and San Pablo. Sa Lower Cagayan po, ito po yung talagang lagpas ng bubong, yung inabot na baha dito po sa lugar na to, particularly dito sa Bunton Station natin sa Tuguegarao, Cagayan. Water level sa ngayon is nasa alarm, 8.39 meters. Nasa alarm level pa rin. Pero may mga baha pa rin. Hanggang sa ngayon, kahit na bumaba na yung water level, wala na po siya sa critical level. Kahapon, umabot po ito ng 11.38. Pero sa ngayon is 8.39. Hanggang sa kasalukuyan, may mga pagbaha pa rin dito po sa Piña Blanca, Tuguegarao City, Enrile, Sulana, Igig, Amulong, Alcala, Baggao, Lasam, Gataran, Lalo, Kamalanyugan, and Apari. Samantala, sa Ninoy Aquino Bridge natin dito sa Tuaw, Cagayan, slow recession na rin po and flooding is no longer possible dito po sa Tuaw, Piat, and Santo Niño. Nagpalabas na rin po tayo kahapon ng flood advisory number 1, kahapon ng alas 5, dito po sa Abra River Basin. So, posible po yung mga pagbaha dito po sa Abra River Basin dahil nga po sa paparating na si Bagyong Pipito, posible pong may mga pagulan within the watershed ng Abra River Basin. Kaya nagpalabas po kami ng babala tungkol po sa pagbaha dito po sa Abra River Basin. So kung mapapansin natin, kaya nga tayo nag-issue ng ganong mga sitwasyon. Dahil nga po kung titingnan natin, ito po yung model na ginagamit namin, ito po yung average soil moisture. Niran po ito kanina, quadruple zero, alas 8 ng umaga. So kung mapapansin natin is yung blue, fully saturated po ang mga lugar na yan. So nakapaikot po yan, Eastern Isabela and Cagayan area, extreme Northern Luzon, Ilocos region. And kung mapapansin natin, yung dadaanan ni Pipito, Catanduanes. Catanduanes is umabot po ng 65 to 90% saturated. Ano pong ibig sabihin niyan? Posible po magkaroon ng landslide, floods dito po sa lugar na yan. Mayroon din po ng small patches dito po sa Albay. Camarines Norte. At titingnan din natin Quezon and Aurora. So yan po yung target area ng pagdaan ni Pipito dyan. In-expect natin na posible magkaroon ng mga landslide dyan dahil nga po bulubundukin po itong lugar na to. And marami pong residente na nakatira dyan, lalong-lalo na dito po sa mismong beach na ito. Dahil nandyan po, paanan ng bundok mismo katabihan. So pinag-iinat natin ang mga residente nakatira dyan dahil posible po magkaroon ng landslide and flash flooding dito po sa mga lugar ng Quezon, Aurora, Catanduanes, Albay, Camarines Norte. Ganon din po, kung makikita natin sa Samar, Eastern Samar, makikita natin na 65 to 85% saturated ang lupa dyan. Posible po magkaroon ng flash flood and landslide. So kung mapapansin din natin, yung flash flood guidance, of course, katatapos lang po ng bagyo na yan. Konting ulan lang, about 45 millimeters of rainfall in 6 hours. Posible ulit bahain itong lugar ng Isabela, Cagayan, Extreme Northern Luzon, Ilocos Region. And may mga pink na patches po dito sa Metro Manila, Pampanga, Pangasinan and Tarlac. Dito po sa Camarines Norte, dito po sa Quezon, and part ng Aurora. So posible po, 45 to 65 millimeters of rainfall, posible pong magkaroon ng mga pagbaha. Samantala, dito po sa Catanduanes, may red patches. Dito po sa part ng Northern Catanduanes, particularly dito po sa Viga, Bagamanok, hanggang Pandan po. And then, sa southern part ng Catanduanes, which is Virac, Bato, hanggang Calulbon, 85 to 110 millimeters of rainfall, posible pa kayang magkaroon ng flash flood and landslide dito po sa lugar na to. So, nagpalabas din po kami ng General Flood Advisory kaninang alas 6 ng umaga. This is to advise to take appropriate action dito po sa Cordillera Administrative Region, sa Ilocos Region and Cagayan Valley. Samantalang advised to be alert for possible flash flood and landslide dito po sa Region 3, Central Luzon. And advised to take precautionary measure dito po sa Region 4A, which is yung Calabarzon, Region 4B, Mimaropa, Region 5, Bicol Region, and Region 8, Eastern Visayas. So maraming salamat po at yun lamang po ang update dito po sa amin sa flood forecasting and warning section, and magandang tanghali po.
Thank you very much, Engineer Richard Rendain from the Hydromet Division ng DOST Pag-asa. Ayan. So dumako na po tayo ngayon sa ating pangalawang yugto ng ating pulong balitaan. Pero bago po yan ay hayaan niyo po munang i-acknowledge yung ilan sa ating mga kasamahan who are joining us physically right now dito sa ating Weather and Flood Forecasting Center. Of course, yung ating mga kasamahan sa pamamahayag, ano po? More particularly, yung ating mga media organizations who are present right now, no? Particularly sa ABS-CBN, Inquirer.net, sa TV5, sa GMA, GMA Super Radio DCWB, sa DZRH at sa Radyo Pilipinas. And as we go on with the press conference, ay patuloy pong dumarating yung ilan sa ating mga kaibigan pa from the media. Of course, we also would like to mention na ang ating press conference ngayon ay simulcast sa ating official Facebook and YouTube accounts ng DOST Pag-asa. And of course, ang ating mga key officials who are present right now, no, they are the ones who will be assisting us in answering your queries later. No po. Of course, panguna ng ating administrator, si Dr. Nathaniel T. Servando ng DOST Pag-asa. Ang ating mga officer in charge, ng Office of the Deputy Administrator for Operations, si Engineer Juanito Galang and Engineer Oscar Cruz from the Hydromet Division. We also have the Chief of the Climatology and Agromet Division, Ms. Telma Cinco, and of course yung ating mga kasamahan sa field offices, particularly yung ating mga division chiefs and OICs ng various Pag-asa Regional Services Divisions, from North Luzon, from the National Capital Region. Of course, we have the South Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Ayan po. So, as we go on with the program po, I feel free to ask any queries that you may have. Yung ating mga kasama or stakeholders who are joining us online via the Facebook page ay pwede pong i-type yung kanilang message through the comment section and try po nating pasadaan para sagutin yung ilan sa mga katanungan. So, perhaps the floor is now open for any queries that you may have. Si Sir from DCWB, Sir Alan.
Sir, good morning po. May dalawang tanong lang po ako. Unahin ko na ho, nabanggit ko kanina, 30 km per hour yung bilis at kinikilos itong si bagyong Pepito. At yung possible landfall ho nito kung hindi Sabado ng gabi ay Linggo ng madaling araw. Pwedeng maging super typhoon ito. Gaano ho kadelikado para maintindihan po ng ating mga kababayan kung sakaling nasa mga flood-prone or landslide-prone area sila pagkatapos ay hindi ho lumikas at ano po yung dapat maintindihan ng ating mga kababayan dito sa bagyong si Pepito.
Maraming salamat po. So sa ngayon po yung mga nabanggit naming areas kanina, nakita natin na possible maglandfall nga ito sa may Virac Catanduanes bukas ng gabi hanggang Linggo ng madaling araw. So hanggat maaari, pinapayuhan talaga natin yung mga kababayan natin na sumunod sa mga local authorities. Nagbibigay po tayo ng lead time. Sa ngayon meron tayong lead time na 24 to 36 hours. So binibigay natin yung lead time na to. Kung sa ngayon po hindi pa natin o hindi pa ninyo nararanasan yung epekto sa ngayon ng bagyong si Pepito, binibigay po namin itong lead time na to para makapaghanda talaga sa maaring maging epekto ng bagyong si Pepito. So, ang ini-encourage ko po talaga yung mga residente, sumunod po sa mga local officials, sa mga local na pamahalaan at sa mga advice din po ng Pag-asa, sumunod din po. Yun lang po, maraming salamat para makaiwas din po tayo sa posibleng magiging epekto ni Typhoon Pepito.
Okay. Second question po, nabanggit nyo kanina, parati hong may lead time na ibinibigay ang Pag-asa para ho sa mga kababayan ho natin at gayon na rin dun sa mga local officials siguro na para makapaghanda po. Pero meron hong local official na sinisisi po yung Pag-asa dahil sa naglabas daw po ng inilabas yung information ng landfall ng bagyong Ophel ng 1:30 naglandfall pero alas 2:07 ng hapon naglabas ng abiso or impormasyon ang Pag-asa. Sa kaalaman po siguro ng mga kababayan ho natin, maging na rin ng mga local official ho, ano ho ba ang dapat nilang maintindihan sa mga inilalabas na impormasyon at forecast ng Pag-asa pagdating po sa mga sama ng panahon?
Una, laging tandaan natin na sana wag lang tayong mag-focus kung saan tatama ang sentro ng bagyo kapag ito ay malakas lalo, dahil may kalawakan ang sirkulasyon nito. Kahit na hindi pa naglandfall ang bagyo, ang kanyang sentro, dahil sa kanyang circulation, depende sa size ng bagyo, but on the average, about 500 kilometers in radius. So, malayo pa man, several hours pa mag-landfall, mararamdaman na natin ang mga pag-ulan at malakas na hangin. Doon sa lalong-lalo na sa mga areas na nakaranas ng mga signals, lalo na higher signals, storm wind signals 2, 3 and 4. ang impact ng signal number 4 halos the same yun, no? Ang lakas, no, ng or impacts ng lakas ng hangin. Kaya kahit na sa isang particular na bayan lang na tumama ang sentro, but of course the same effects ang maramdaman nito ng mga karatig bayan, ano. So yun lang ang masabi namin, na sana po ay palagi nating tandaan, wag lamang tayo magbantay, no, kung kailan maglandfall ang sentro nito. But of course, tingnan natin yung pangkalahatan ang sirkulasyon ng bagyo. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Dr. Nats. Sige po, magtatanong po si
Val Gonzales po, DZRH. Gusto ko lang pong ma-highlights yung binanggit po kanina ni Engineer Orendain ng Hydromet Division. Kasi yung binabanggit po niya, yung mga nakatira doon sa Catanduanes and nearby provinces ay most likely ay makakaranas ho ng mga landslide dahil nasa 65 to 80% na saturated na yung lupa, plus itong tubig ulan na ibabagsak nitong bagyong si Pipito ay magkakaroon ng mga landslide. Pwede ho ba natin, sir, ma-magnify kung saang mga particular na lugar na yon? Kasi doon ho tayo nagkakaproblema minsan eh. Pagka medyo malawak yung binabanggit na area, yung ibang mga nandun pala sa lugar na hindi naman nila akalain na parte nung binabanggit na lugar ay hindi ho sila nag-iingat. Pwede ho ba nating mamagnify yung mga areas kung saan posible ho yung landslide na binabanggit nyo kanina, Engineer Orendain? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Mag-start tayo sa Catanduanes. Tagaroon ako eh. Kabisado ko yung lugar. So, mag-start tayo sa Catanduanes. Ang Catanduanes is landslide prone, particularly dito po sa Higmuto and San Miguel. Nandyan po yung pinakamataas na bundok ng Catanduanes and nandyan po yung landslide prone. And pagdating naman po sa baha, Virac. Yun po yung lubog sa baha kapag nagkaroon ng mga malalakas na pag-ulan within the area. Virac po is lubog po sa baha. Ganon din po dito sa part ng Pandan, Catanduanes, dito po sa north. Mayroon din pong landslide prone dyan, especially dito po sa gitna ng Pandan. Minsan na-isolate dyan 3 hanggang 4 na barangay. So, pagdating naman dito sa Albay, Albay is flood prone. So, urban area po yan. And then Camarines Norte, landslide and flash flood prone ang Camarines Norte. Dahil po bulubundukin po yan and then may mga flat area po dyan. Yung sa flat area, yung po yung flood prone area within Camarines Norte. Now, dumako tayo po dito sa Quezon. Kung matatandaan nyo po noong 2020, nagkaroon po ng landslide dyan sa Quezon. Real Quezon. Number 1 po. Flash flood prone area po ang Real. Dito po sa Quezon. And then yung Karatig po dyan sa Quezon Province, ganun din po. The same with Aurora. Bihira po yung baha sa Aurora. Halos barangay lang yung binabaha sa Aurora. And madali rin siyang mag-recede dahil malapit po siya sa dagat. Madali po siyang mag-flow papunta sa dagat. Ang problema po dito sa Aurora is yung landslide. Now, dito naman tayo sa, dahil nga po, dinaanan ng ilang beses na bagyo itong Isabela and Cagayan area. So siguro naman identify na natin. Halos lahat po ng coastal barangays dito po sa Isabela and Cagayan area is sa ngayon is prone to flooding and landslide dahil 100% saturated na po siya. Pagdating naman sa Ilocos Region, napuntahan ko rin tong lugar na to, particularly dito po sa Abra and dito po sa Bintar. Madalas po ang flash flooding dito po sa Bintar and dito po sa Abra River Basin, ganun din po. Madalas din po ang flash flooding dyan and very minimal yung pagkakaroon ng landslide, pero may mga lugar pa rin po na landslide prone dito po sa part ng Ilocos Norte. So yun lang po at maraming salamat.
Last na lang sir, gaano ho uli kalaki yung volume ng tubig ulan na maring ibagsak po nitong si Pepito?
So, ibalik po natin dun sa rainfall, no? So, like, the previous tropical cyclones po, halos nasa ganon din pong amount po yung ina-expect po nating ulan. Pero dahil nga po ito yung from So ito po, bukas po ng tanghali hanggang linggo po ng tanghali, ini-expect po natin na walang humpay na po ang pag-ulan na inaasahan po natin sa Northern Samar, Sorsogon, Albay at Catanduanes. Nasa torrential rains po dahil ina-expect po natin within that time frame po, ito po yung oras din po ng landfall at paglapit niya po sa mga probinsyang aking binanggit. Hindi po natin din pwedeng set aside po na heavy to intense o matindi rin pong mga pag-ulan ang inaasahan na rin po natin sa Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur at Eastern Samar. Samantala, katamtaman hanggang sa malakas na mga pag-ulan naman sa Quezon, Masbate, Biliran, Leyte at Samar po. And then, pagdating po ng linggo po ng tanghali hanggang Monday po ng tanghali, meron pa rin po mga pag-ulan o walang humpay na pag-ulan dito po sa Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes at Quezon Province. So, pwede po yung umabot ng 200 to 300 millimeters po na ulan. So, yung mga naka-red po.
Okay na yan. Idagdag ko lang doon kanina sa mga specific areas na maaring magkaroon ng floods and landslides. Ang susceptibility ng isang area to rain-induced landslide and floods, actually ginagawa ng ibang ahensya like MGB, DNR. Sila po yung may konkretong information sa mga specific na lugar up to the community level, barangay level. So yung rainfall forecast ng Pag-asa, tinatapat nila sa available na maps. Then na-determine nila yung mga specific barangays na maaaring ma-expose sa possible floods and landslides.
Thank you, Dr. Nats. Si Ms. Marian from Radyo Pilipinas.
Magandang hapon po. Ma'am, sa Metro Manila, pa-reiterate lang po yung magiging panahon po ngayong weekend. May possibility po ba na mapasailalim siya sa wind signal number? And also, kasi po Sunday noon to Monday noon, ibig sabihin po, Sabado, medyo okay pa ang weather dito sa Metro Manila. Ganun po ba yun, ma'am? Thank you.
So, ito pong significant rainfall na po ito ay Sunday noon time, no, yung start. Pero simula po Sabado po ng tanghali hanggang linggo po ng tanghali po, ini-expect po natin na makulimlim na po hanggang sa maulap na po yung kalangitan at posible na po yung mga localized na mga pag-ulan. Yung localized na mga pag-ulan po, lagi nating sinasabi, 1 to 2 hours na thunderstorm-related rainfall pero heavy downpour po yun. Yun po yung mga pag-ulan na nagpapatraffic po sa ilang areas po dito sa Metro Manila. So ganung mga pag-ulan po, ina-expect na po natin by Saturday po until Sunday noon time po.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Sir JC from TV5.
Hi, sirs. I'll just sit because of my laptop. Directors, I'll ask lang for soundbite dun sa exact na sinabi ni Alcala Mayor, yung first niyang post. What the hell, Pag-asa? A super typhoon changed track and landed in Bagao and you did not tell us. Direct hit kami, cargo nyo. Your thoughts po on that?
Dr. Nats?
Nasabi ko na kanina, ang areas northeastern part of Cagayan were under signal number 4. At sa track ng bagyo, nandun yung hindi lang siya line, di ba? Na-mention namin, emphasize na yung cone of uncertainty. So ang pag-landfall ng bagyo ay maaaring magbago base sa projected track na binibigay ng Pag-asa. In fact, kung ang landfall ay sa mga neighboring municipalities like Gonzaga or Santa Ana or even South, the effects in terms of the strength of the wind at pag-ulan halos the same din. Kaya, na-explain na rin ng ibang mga kasama namin. I hope nasagot namin.
Tapos sir, to follow lang doon, yung follow-up sa question ni Kuya Alan, yung pinaka-gist noong sinabi ni Mayor is the issue with Pag-asa is untimely information. Yun yung pinaka-ano niya, pino-point out niya. Ano pong thoughts niyo on that? Untimely information daw po.
Hello, good morning. Magandang tanghali. Actually, every 3 hours, nag-i-issue na tayo ng mga information ng bulletin. Kaya, although nung 11 a.m. issuance, nabanggit na natin dyan kung ano yung mga areas na possible na maapektuhan. So, yung signal number 4 and then signal number 5, almost similar na lang yung effect niya na hindi mo na halos ma-distinguish. Sa laki ng bagyo, sa liit lang ng area, halos same na lang yan. So, kaya nga po, from signal number 1, umakyat yan hanggang signal number 4. Ibig sabihin, kapag yung area natin, i-monitor natin kung yung area natin, tumataas siya ng signal from signal number 1, umabot siya ng 2, 3, 4, 5. Ibig sabihin nun, malaki yung porsyento na madadamage talaga yung area na yun. So, yun po yung monitor natin. Yung lead time, lagi po namin inuulit-ulit yung lead time, yung kahalagahan ng lead time. Binibigay po namin yan para may sapat na oras na makapaghanda yung mga kababayan natin. Thank you.
May add lang po ako. No? Doon po sa direct hit po, plinat po namin yung mga inisyo po nating positions from bulletin, yung sa track po natin. Hindi naman po talaga dumaan po ng Alcala po ang bagyo. Dumaan po siya ng Bagao at binaybay niya po yung coastal communities po dito sa northeastern portions po ng Cagayan po. So for the sake of siguro yung direct hit po na term, plinat po natin yan, hindi po dumaan po ng Alcala yung sentro ng bagyo. Pero lagi pong sinasabi nga po ng ating administrator at ng mga key officials po natin, hindi dapat nagmamatter kung saan po naglandfall ang bagyo, kung nasaan po ang sentro. Ang lagi po nating pagtuunan ng pansin, ang mga wind signal na pinapalabas po ng Pag-asa sa bawat probinsya po o munisipyo na aming pong binabanggit bawat po issuance po ng ating bulletin. And then, pagdating naman po siguro dun sa posting ng landfall, lagi naman po talagang may lag po ang posting po namin dahil once na nakita po natin, bine-verify po natin yan with some tools po. Radar, synoptic data, and then also po with satellite data. So kailangan po mag-coincide po muna yan bago po natin ma-declare ang landfall time. So kahit i-review po natin yung mga posting po ng Pag-asa from previous landfall time, lagi pong may lag po ng konti dahil binibigyan po natin ng time to verify po and yung mga tools po natin mag-coincide po sa bawat isa para i-declare po yung facts po kung ano pong areas yung landfall area at ano po talaga yung landfall time. Sana maintindihan po ng ating mga kababayan yon at sana hindi po maging sentro po ng usapin po yung kung saan po nag-landfall. Lagi po nating iisipin ang wind signal po na pinapalabas po ng Pag-asa, yun po ang pinaka-importanting babala po na binibigay po natin sa bawat po probinsya at mga munisipyo po na nababanggit po sa mga wind signal, pati na rin po sa mga rainfall advisory.
Thank you very much, Ms. Glyza. Baka may katanungan pa po on the floor, sir. Sige po, go ahead from IBC.
Good afternoon po. Aljon Eguia po from Daily Tribune. Makakalitulad po ba natin itong si Bagyong Pepito sa Bagyong Ulysses noong 2020 na nagdulot ng widespread flooding, especially sa may Marikina area po?
Thank you, sir, sa tanong. Perhaps our experts from HMD or Sir June.
Well, kung makikita po natin based sa latest track ni Pepito, dadaan siya dito sa may northern part ng Metro Manila. Pero gaya nga sa mga rainfall advisories na ipinakita kanina, makaka-receive yung Metro Manila ng aabot yan ng intense to torrential rainfall. So hindi natin naalis yung possibility na madagdagan yung level ng tubig, lalo-lalo dito sa Metro Manila at sa may Marikina area. Thank you.
Okay po, sir. Next question
Nadagdagan
po.
ko lang yan. Actually, meron naman tayong monitoring sa Pasig Marikina River at yung mga tao natin nakahanda. Patuloy na minomonitor yan. At once na nag-reach tayo a certain threshold, nagbibigay na tayo ng anunsyo dito sa Pasig Marikina River. So, antabayanan lang po natin yan.
Okay po. Anong araw po magiging pinakamararamdaman ng Bagyong Pepito dito sa Metro Manila po?
Hello, based sa analysis natin ngayon, Sabado onwards hanggang Linggo, ramdam na dito sa Metro Manila. Kaya ngayon pa lang, bang wala pa tayong nararamdaman na epekto, maghanda na po tayo.
Thank you very much. Si Ms. Shane Pe ng Philippine Events News.
Good morning po. With regards po dito kasi magkakasunod po itong bagyo na to, di ba po? Ophel, Pepito. Meron pa po kayang susunod na iba pa. And gano'n na po kalayo si Ophel pagpasok ni Pepito? May possibility po ba na magkaroon ng overlap ang dalawang bagyo o yung mga iba pang kasunod na bagyo? And last question ko po is, yung pong kasi paulit-ulit din po yung mga landslide, yung dinadaanan ng bagyo. May possibility po ba na makapag-suggest ang Pag-asa? Kasi kayo po mas nakakaalam po dito. Yung sa mga landfall, yung mga critical areas, sa lahat po ng mga LGU na dapat po, wag na po sanang tirahan ng mga tao. Kasi every time na dadaan po ang bagyo, doon din po dumadaan eh. Ganon din po ang nangyayari. Ganon din po ang nagiging problema eh. So may landslide, kailangan evacuate, so forth and so on. May possibility po ba na magkaroon ng boses ang Pag-asa na mag-recommend po sa LGU na ito pong mga area nito is critical at wag na pong tirahan ng mga tao? Salamat po.
Thank you po sa tanong. Si Dr. Nats.
Kung tingnan natin, sa unang tanong, kung magkaabutan ba yung Typhoon Ophel, o storm na ngayon, ang Ophel at ang typhoon na si Pepito, mukhang malayo naman ang distansya ng bawat isa dahil ang bagyong Ophel ay tuloy-tuloy na kumikilos. Bahagyang lalabas, but of course, inisahan na mag-landfall sa Taiwan. After landfall, ini-expect din naman natin na mag-awaken pa further. Habang itong Pepito ay kumikilos palapit dito sa may Eastern Visayas and Bicol area. Now sa pangalawa, alam natin kung saan palaging tinatamaan ng mga bagyo, no? Bicol region, eastern part ng Central Luzon, Northern Luzon, eastern part of Visayas. Siguro ang southernmost of Mindanao lang ang hindi binabagyo, ano? But siguro yung as to the relocation, yung mga specific areas na talagang prone to landslide, mga low-lying areas na susceptible to floods, lalong-lalo na yung along the rivers. So ito yung dapat ay titingnan, no? Nandyan ang information not necessarily from Pag-asa ang kanilang exposed to different hazards. But sa pag-implement siguro, lalong-lalo na it involves planning, no? Ay nasa lokal na pamahalaan siguro at ito'y hindi nasakop ng Pag-asa po. Maraming salamat.
Salamat po.
Thank you. Sir from...
Good afternoon po, sir. Earl po from IBC News 13. Sa wider perspective lang naman din po yung tanong ko. Sa international media, sir, medyo nakatutok sila sa Pilipinas ngayon dahil ngayong buwan, pang-apat na yung bagyong Pepito. Meanwhile, in less than a month daw po, this is the 6th storm or isang malakas na sama ng panahon na pumasok sa ating bansa. They're asking, sir, kung ito ba ay normal pa ba o definitely ito ay early signs na rin ng actual climate change effect sa Pilipinas, sir?
Salamat sa katanungan. Kung ito ay directly dulot ng climate change, it could be an indicative na signs of a changing climate. Pero bakit mas marami ang mga bagyo ngayon? Di ba nagpalabas tayo ng La Nina alert, no? So, but currently, ang status natin is still a cool and so neutral condition. Bakit natin siya or a La Nina-like condition still persists? Currently, ay hindi pa nare-reach yung La Nina condition, pero ang karagatan ngayon na malapit sa Pilipinas ay napakainit. So, ang usually condition pag La Nina, mas mainit sa western sea o kaya Philippine Sea. So currently, nasa 30 degrees. Di ba ang mga bagyo ay na-form 27 degrees or more? So yung karagatan natin ngayon ay nasa, kahit hindi natin mariting yung La Nina condition, ay ang condition ngayon ay nasa La Nina-like condition wherein we have warmer sea surface temperatures near the Philippine area, no? So yun yung nararanasan natin ngayon. So kung matutuloy ba ang La Nina, ang latest natin ngayon na forecast is we have a 50% chance pa rin, pero bumababa siya. So kahit hindi magtuloy yung La Nina na yan dahil sa condition ngayon ng karagatan sa malapit sa Pilipinas, ay namumuo ang mga malalakas na bagyo. So it's very, very din na super typhoon, ang dami sunod-sunod. So we could say na this could be a signal of a changing climate.
Thank you, ma'am. Follow-up ko lang din po doon. The NASA Earth Observatory this morning released po yung isang picture na medyo nakagather ng atensyon ng publiko ngayong umaga. Yung apat na bagyo, yung Marce na tinatawag na Toraji at saka yung Nika, Ophel, and then itong Pepito. Since 1951 daw po, ma'am, ay itong first time na merong apat na active na bagyo sa Western Pacific region. Ano pong kahit na reaction lang ng Pag-asa on this or any clarification po on our end na ito ay first time lang na nangyari?
No. So I will confirm yung actual na datos I don't have here. Pero based dun sa namin, hindi naman to una na nagkaroon ng apat na bagyo for this month. So mayroon naman.
Okay na po. Thank you, Sir Jello from IBC.
2020. Yeah.
Sige, follow-up question, sir?
Sir, yung lang sa bagyong Pepito, kailan po siya itataas into super typhoon? At saka, question po nung desk, factor po ba na mainit daw po yung ocean kaya po lalakas itong bagyo into super typhoon?
So, base po dun sa presentation, ina-expect po natin na bukas, bago mag-landfall, ay pwede po, hindi natin nire-rule out yung possibility na maging super typhoon po ito. And then, tama po kayo, ang fuel talaga po ng bagyo for it to intensify further ay ang mainit po na karagatan. Dito po sa malapit po sa Pilipinas.
Ma'am, for soundbite, can you expound paano nangyayari yon na mainit kaya mag-intensify into a super typhoon?
Ang mainit na karagatan po, usually po, dahil mainit yung temperatura, so nagiging lowest yung pressure sa baba. So nasusustain niya po yung pagbubuo ng mga thunderstorm clouds na nagpapasustain sa structure po ng ating bagyo. So pag medyo malamig po kasi, medyo mas madalang yun na yung thunderstorm na dumudugtong doon po sa circulation po ng bagyo. Kailangan po continuous po ang formation po ng mga thunderstorm within the radius or diameter po ng bagyo.
Ma'am, sorry, makulit.
Apo.
Baka po kaya in layman's term para mas magets ng public. Kung kaya, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So bakit lumalakas ang mga bagyo? Ang source natin, kung tayo nagpapakulo ng tubig, 'di ba? Mainit, 'di ba? So tumataas yung gumagaan siya. So yun at pag tumataas ay gumagaan yung magkakaroon ng sirkulasyon, 'di ba? So ang isang first na titingnan mo kung mainit yung environment. Kung nakita natin ngayon ay mas mainit kaysa normal. Yung dati na mga ay halimbawa 2 lang yung bagyo pag November is mas maraming bagyo ang pwedeng mabuo. Ngayon, as mas mainit ay 30 degrees recently. So yung at least 27 degrees ay magkaroon ng bagyo. So talagang pwedeng yung enerhiya na para mabuo ang isang bagyo ay ang dulot niyan ay dahil sa mainit na karagatan. Rising air, no? So pag nag-rise siya, pwede kang magpaulan ng marami, hindi lang yung hangin, kundi yung malakas na pag-ulan ay kasama. So tandaan po natin, kahit paliwanag natin ito, ang dulot ng malalakas na bagyo ay hindi lang yung hangin, pat yung kaakibit na ulan. So tandaan natin na sunod-sunod ang bagyo at iisa lang ang halos dinadaanan Northern Luzon. So ating mga kababayan, ang dapat tingnan natin yung days ahead, no anticipatory action natin, early action, based sa binibigay na babala ni Pag-asa sana. So para hindi na nating antayin yung oras na dumating yung nung ay sa atin. So days ahead tayo. At we look at the worst case scenario, we look at no regrets action para tayo ay handa at tayo ay safe sa ating lahat ng mga komunidad natin. So, salamat po.
Ma'am, if I may add lang siguro. So, yung sea surface temperature, isa lang yan sa nagpapalakas ng bagyo. Siguro after this, we can explain it to you further. Isa lang naman factor yung sea surface temperature. May iba pang factor na kung bakit lumalakas talaga yan. So, I think our forecaster can explain it to you.
Dagdag ko rin na kapag mataas ang sea surface temperature, hindi lang lumalakas ang bagyo, but ito may dalang malalakas na pag-ulan. Kasi kapag mataas ang temperatura ng dagat, it will encourage more evaporation of water vapor sa itaas ng ating atmosphere. At kung ano man ang water vapor na umaakyat pataas, ibabagsak. Ito in a form of rainfall. Simpleng explanation.
Sir, which brings me to my to my next question. Sa budget hearing ng Senate sa Pag-asa, ni-raise ni Sen. Tolentino yung concern na that State Weather Bureau has been using terms that are not easily understood by the public. And yung pag-issue rin daw po sana ng mga weather bulletins in different Filipino languages. Are we studying that po ba?
Yes, yung pag-translate siguro ng mga warning messages namin into different languages. Isa siguro ito yung mga immediate na gagawin namin. At in fact, ginagawa na namin sa ibang mga regional areas dahil yung through our regional services division, ang pinalabas na pag-asa ng mga warnings, warning on heavy rainfall at hangin dahil dulot ng mga lakas ng bagyo ay tinatranslate nila into local dialects. But dito po sa National Forecasting Center, we will look into that. In fact, gagawin namin translate into Tagalog, no, para mas madadali. Yes. And although may rainfall warning na kaming ginawa with rainfall advisory with longer lead time, 24 hours, even up to 3 days, no. Gawin pa namin up to 5 days siguro 'yon. Hindi lamang yung amount ng rainfall but may kaakibat ito na ano ang mga potential na impacts or effects doon sa maapektuhan ng mga lugar.
Tapos, dagdagan ko lang siguro yung yung mga term na ginagamit. So, may mga, alam naman natin, may mga limitations talaga ang pag-translate ng ano. So, ang siguro pagsusumikapan namin gamin ay yung mga term na hindi pwedeng i-translate talaga into Filipino o into different dialect, i-explain na lang mas layman's as possible kung para mas maintindihan nila yung it's either yung effect na nun, hindi na yung term mismo kasi may mga limitations talaga. Hindi natin kayang i-translate talaga lahat ng mga terms.
Tapos sir, sorry, ang daming patanong ng desk. Yun lang sa binanggit po ni Sen Coco. Yun daw pong, for example, dun sa mga rainfall warnings, bakit daw instead of colors, yung red, yellow, kasi sabi niya, neutral yung mga colors eh. So bakit daw hindi na lang numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 is the most severe para mas madali pong maintindihan daw ng public.
Well, pag-aaralan po namin. Salamat sa suggestions. Pag-aaralan po namin yon. Pero sa ngayon, ang naisip ng pag-asa, mas yung mga tao pag yung visual, yung papakita mo, tumatatak agad sa kanila, lalong-lalo na sa social media. Kapag ma-visual, yung may kulay talaga yung mga warnings, mas madali nilang naiintindihan. So, pero yung suggestion ni Senator Pimentel, kukonsider namin at pag-aaralan namin. Thank you.
Tapos yung last na lang, yung sa Doppler radars, yung of the 19, 11 lang yung gumagana. Gaano ba kahalaga itong mga Doppler radars na ito? And talaga bang kailangan ng budget for this?
Yes, ang Doppler radars network namin, tama yung numbers na binigay mo. Isa sa mga mahalagang monitoring equipment na nagbibigay ng more reliable information, particularly on rainfall, specific areas, no. And then we can implement mga tawag namin dito nowcasting. For example, in 2 hours, saang lugar ang pwedeng mag-uulan, mas specific and accurate. Now, dahil 11 lang ang gumaganang radar, it doesn't mean na may mga blind areas na hindi na-cover ng radar dahil ang numbers na 19 ay na-planned in such a way na may redundancy, in such a way na kapag nasira or non-operational yung isa, ay makover ng isa. Like in Metro Manila, mayroong Tagaytay and Subic tayo. In Visayas, nandiyan ang Cebu, but nearby, nandiyan ang Bohol, no? Even ang Iloilo. Dito sa area na tatahakin ng bagyong Pipito, nandiyan bagamat ang Virac is not operational, nandiyan yung Lawang, ang pinakabagong, isa sa mga pinakabagong radar namin sa may Northern Samar, then ang Daet, and of course ang Baler, at plus of course ang Tagaytay. Of course, nandiyan pa rin ang Masbate na isa din sa pinakabagong radar. Okay. Sa 8 na hindi operational, 3 doon ay for upgrading and replacement kasi funded na ng ating pamahalaan. At ang tatlo naman ay under repair and maintenance. We're just waiting for the spares. Kasi hindi naman kaagad na available sa market yung mga spares. May importation na it takes time bago ma-deliver.
Thank you very much. Baka may mga gusto pa pong magtanong sa ating mga kaibigan sa media dito sa ating media room. So kung wala na po ay siguro pasadaan natin yung ilan sa mga katanungan na natanggap natin through our official FB page ng DOST Pag-asa. No? Pasadaan lang natin yung ilan sa mga naging katanungan ng ating mga stakeholders joining us online. So ang unang tanong po ay maraming nagtanong po nito, no? From the Bicol region, no? Yung ating mga kababayan sa Bicol region. Kasama na po si Karen May Israel Fisher. Ang tanong po nila, bakit po ang init pa dito sa Bicol kahit may signal na? Yun po yung katanungan. So perhaps si Doc Nats or...
Kaya yun ang gusto namin i-emphasize na sabi na ni June, kasama namin, Deputy Administrator for Operations. Kapag nag-raise kami ng signal number 1, it doesn't mean ma-experience na natin kaagad ang lakas ng hangin. Ano? Ang lead time nito, 36 hours pa, meaning 2.5 days pa. 1.5 days pa bago maramdaman yung kakibat na lakas ng hangin. But of course, ang Pipito ay nasa karagatan pa at ang kanyang sirkulasyon ay hindi naman gaanong kalawak kumpara ng kay Nika, kaya hindi pa naramdaman ng ang epekto nito sa may Bicol area. But in the coming hours, particularly siguro starting tomorrow morning, ito ay definitely maramdaman nila.
Thank you po, Dr. Nats. Ayan. So, it only means na yun po ay yung ating opportune time for preparedness. Ano po? Ayan. So another question from our stakeholder from Jason Sigales ng Inquirer.net. Ask ko lang po, what specific time naging typhoon si Pepito? Specific time daw po na naging typhoon category ang bagyong si Pepito. Perhaps our mag-duty forecaster, si Ma'am Liza.
So for Pipito po ay naging typhoon po ito ngayong alas 8 po ng umaga. And ina-expect nga po natin na it will further intensify pa hanggang bukas po bago mag-landfall.
Thank you, Ma'am Liza. Yan. Another question from Ira Madayag. This is quite, hindi po siya masyadong related sa mga bagyo pero still related sa ating panahon. No? So this question goes to Ma'am Telma Cinco of CAD. No? Kailan daw po ang posibleng onset ng ating hanging amihan at may epekto daw po ba yung La Nina sa pagdami ng mga bagyo? Ayun po.
So nakikita natin na after maybe next week we will be mag-set in na yung northeast monsoon. So yung katanungan na may epekto ba yung mga bagyo ngayon. So kanina napaliwanag ko na mas mainit banda sa ating pag-La Nina. So mas maraming posibleng mga bagyo.
Thank you very much. Ayan. So related din po yung question ni Mr. Daddy, ano? Nasagot na ni Ma'am Telma, no, yung tungkol sa amihan. Okay. Another question from Sir Alan. Opo.
Although nakapokus po tayo kay Pipito, ngayon pa lang ho ba may nakikita ba tayong kasunod ni Pipito na nasa labas po ng Philippine Area of Responsibility.
So far, do sa aming, pag nakita niyo yung ating TC threat for next week, ay magpapahinga muna ang mga bagyo. So that
May
is,
pahinga po tayo ng isang linggo.
hopefully. So yun
Hopefully.
yung ating nakikita, yung sa ating TC threat.
Thank you, Sir Alan, ng GMA DCWB. Ayan, and of course, sa ating nagsagot si Ma'am Telma. No? Ayan. Another question from Marvin Torre Esma. Bakit po sa ibang app pataas po ang track ni Pepito? Posible po ba magbago pa ang dadaanan? Si Ma'am Telma? Si Ma'am Blysa.
So balikan po natin yung track ni Pepito, no? So, ito po yung current position po niya o kung saan po siya nandito. So, ito pong sentro po ng tracking po natin. Pwede pa po yung magbago dahil po, lagi po natin binabanggit, meron pa rin pong cone of probability po yan habang tumatagal po yung forecast period po natin. So, may mga uncertainties pa po yan. So, may marami pong tools tayong tinitingnan. So, ang possibility na pwede pang umangat yung track at bumaba ay nandoon pa rin po. Yun po yung gusto ipaliwanag po ng ating forecast track as well as yung cone of probability po.
Thank you, Ma'am Glyza. A couple more questions po sa ating online. Ayan, from Ryan Bolivar Bernales. Ang tanong po niya is kung similar daw po ba yung track ni Rolly tsaka ni Pepito. Kung may similarity daw po ba. Yung naging track noon ni Rolly, Bagyong Rolly, noong at anong year nga ito, hindi ko matandaan. 2020 yata. 2021. Kung may similarities po ba ang track ni Bagyong Rolly tsaka ni Bagyong Pepito. Siguro we can check din po doon sa mga resources natin sa website, no? Kasi marami namang information regarding that. Baka may dadagdag si Ma'am Glyza or si Sir Jun.
Sa ngayon po, wala po tayong datos ng Rolly po, no? Kaya hindi po natin mako-compare talaga side by side. Although matagal na po ako dito, ang naalala kong bagyo na tumama po sa Catanduanes ay either yung bagyong Nona po or bagyong Nina. That is 2015 or 2016 po. So ito po yung pinaka-recent po na bagyo na tumama po sa Catanduanes area. So yun lang po ang masasabi po natin ngayon dahil po ang yung Rolly po kasi ay from east of Northern Luzon, base po sa datos na nandito, ay bumaba siya ng dire-diretso hanggang dito po sa Catanduanes. So may pagkakaiba po yung kanilang track po. Ang track po ng Pepito ngayon ay dito po sa east po ng Visayas ay nag-southwestward po ito and then magmumove po ito ng west-northwestward. Samantala, ang Rolly po, from this point, ay bumaba po dire-diretso papunta pong Catanduanes po yung bagyo. So, very different po yung track nila. Although yung landfall area po ay parehas po. For bagyong Rolly.
Thank you, Ma'am Gly. Another question regarding bagyo, no? Ano daw po yung diameter ng bagyo ng itong bagyo nating si Pepito? And if may kalintulad daw po sa diameter or radius ni bagyong Nika. Sir Jun.
Yung ngayon yung diameter niya halos nasa almost 800 kilometer yung diameter. Pero ibang mas malaki pa rin si Nika. Pero almost same lang. We can compare.
Thank you, Sir Jun. And siguro ito na yung last nating question before we finally wrap up. No? From Marco Pielajo. Ano po ang worst case scenario for Metro Manila na expected po and when po ito or kung kailan daw po ito maaaring maramdaman dito sa NCR? Sige. Ma'am Glyza siguro.
So worst case po for Metro Manila, highest possible wind signal, possible pa rin po yung 3 and 4. And then kung super typhoon po ay may slight probability po ng signal 5, pero worst case po natin ay mag-raise po na sa Metro Manila ng wind signal 3 or 4 base po dito sa ating forecast.
And unless na mag-change ng movement ang bagyo, bumagal or ay during the weekend ang maring maranasan dito sa Metro Manila.
Thank you, Dr. Nats and Ma'am Glyza. More or less, na-cover naman po natin lahat ng ating mga katanungan. Although, alam ko may mga maaari pang posibleng tanong na nasa isip ng ating mga stakeholders. But then again, we encourage everyone to check out our website and some other applications, particularly ang ating Hazard Hunter ng DOST. And of course, yung ating Pag-asa website, pagasa.dost.gov.ph. It's a rich source of information, including yung mga educational materials ay nakapaloob po dito sa ating website na you may check out anytime you wish as long as you have a good internet connection. Ayan po. So more or less we've covered everything, no? And with the interest of time, perhaps it's now due to us to finally wrap up our press conference this morning, afternoon na po, no? So para po sa ating panghuling mensahe ay ating hinga ng pahayag, konting pahayag ang ating officer in charge ng Office of the Deputy Administrator for Operations and Services, Engineer Juanito Galang.
So maraming salamat po at magandang tanghali sa atin lahat. So maraming salamat po sa mga media, mga kaibigan natin na dumating dito sa ngayon. So gusto ko lang pong i-emphasize yung kahalagahan ng tamang pangunawa at pagtugon sa mga babala na ibinibigay po ng Pag-asa at ng mga lokal na pamahalaan. So gusto ko lang bigyan diin yung lead time na kung sa ngayon hindi pa po natin nararamdaman o nararanasan yung sa inyong lugar yung epekto ng bagyong si Pepito, nais po namin bigyan diin ang halaga ng lead time. Ito po yung binibigay namin ito para mabigyan ng sapat na time o oras na makapaghanda tayo. So ito po ay upang maiwasan natin ang mga posibleng epekto na pwedeng idulot ng bagyong si Pepito. So ngayon po wala pa tayong nararamdaman, maghanda na po tayo at mag-ingat po tayong lahat. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much. And that formally wrap-ups our press conference ngayon pong umaga. Marami pong salamat sa lahat na nakibahagi po, lalong-lalo nating mga kaibigan sa pamamahayag from various media organizations and of course yung ating mga kasamahan sa DOST, DOST Pag-asa, headed by our Administrator Dr. Nathaniel T. Servando. Muli po ako po si Bernard Punsalan at muli po ang ating paalala sa ating mga kababayan. Mag-ingat po tayo and manatiling nakaantabay sa lahat ng updates ng Pag-asa. Ang ating next na briefing ay mamayang 5:00 po ng hapon. So muli po, maraming po salamat. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
very large and very strong. So please.
Mr. President and distinguished members of the Cabinet, and of course, colleagues in the government. I will present the latest update about Typhoon Pipito. As of 2 p.m. this afternoon, it is located 510 kilometers silangan ng Giwan, Eastern Samar. With wind strength 150 kilometers per hour and gustiness up to 185 kilometers per hour. It is moving westward at 30 kilometers per hour. Medyo may kabilisan siya. Ito po ang projected track ng Pipito. Ito ay inasahan na mag-intensify pa habang ito ay papalapit sa ating kalupaan at maaring abot ng super typhoon before maglandfall over Catanduanes bukas ng gabi or Sunday early morning. Ang sentro nito will traverse parts of Bicol region, Quezon and Central Luzon, then exit the landmass via Pangasinan on Sunday evening. And then it will exit the Philippine Area of Responsibility by Monday. Gusto ko pong emphasize, Mr. President, ang cone of uncertainty. Again, within that area ay maaring magbago ang track ng bagyo or even landfall location. Sa ngayon, nakataas na ang storm wind signals sa halos buong Kabikulan, maging ang eastern parts of the Visayas, particular na ang Samar provinces. Ang highest signal ay signal number 2. But of course, inasahan natin na ito ay tataas pa habang papalapit ang bagyong Pipito. Next slide please. Dahil po papalabas na o papalayo ang bagyong Ophel, sa ngayon ang inasahan natin mga pag-ulan ay nakafocus na lamang doon sa may Babuya, Batanes Group of Islands. Next slide please. Subalit tomorrow, simula tanghali hanggang Sunday ng tanghali, inasahan natin ang walang humpay na pagbuhos ng ulan, intense to torrential rain, na abot ng mahigit 200 millimeters of rain. Ito po yung mga areas na nakapula. No? Ito po yung, of course, kasama dyan ang Catanduanes, Albay, Sorsogon at Northern Samar. Malakas hanggang napakalakas na buhos ng hangin, ulan. Ito po naman ang areas na naka-orange. Inasahan po natin ang ulan aabot ng 100 to 200 millimeters per hour. Ito po sa may Eastern Samar, Camarines Sur, Camarines Norte at katamtaman hanggang malakas na mga pag-ulan, ito naman yung nakadilaw. Ito po simula bukas. Next slide please. Now on Sunday, ng tanghali hanggang Monday, ito naman po ang expected rainfall scenario. Ang naka-red, of course, na-mention ko, ito pong makaranas ng mga matinding pagbuhos ng ulan, walang humpay na pagbuhos ng ulan. Of course, ang Kabikulan, Camarines Sur, Camarines Norte, Catanduanes, maging ang Quezon at Aurora. Samantala, ang naka-orange, ito po yung mga lugar na makakaranas ng malakas hanggang sa napakalakas ng mga pag-ulan, 100 to 200 millimeters of rain. Kung hindi magbago po ang track, worst case scenario, Metro Manila po kasama po dito. And of course, ang kadilaw, ito po yung makakaranas ng mga bahagyang o katamtaman ng mga pag-ulan hanggang sa malakas na mga pag-ulan. Next slide please. Dahil po mabilis ang pagkilos ng bagyong Pipito at may kalakasan ng kanyang intensity, ito rin po ang ating babantayan, ang storm surge na maaaring umabot ng more than 3 meters. Ito po yung mga dalampasigan na naka-highlight in orange, particular na doon sa Kabikulan kung saan ay inaasahan na doon direktang tatama ang sentro ng bagyong Pipito. Next slide please. Yun lang po ang maikling report ko about the latest about Pipito, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's more or less as has been forecast and what we have been seeing sa mga briefing na ginagawa ng Pag-asa. Ito lang, dahil ang track nitong Pipito, hindi lang basta tatawid ng Pilipinas. talagang dadaan from this track that we are looking at. First, the first area it will hit will be Eastern Visayas, and then all the way up Bicol to Luzon. Kaya mas malaki ang area na tatamaan nito. And that's why our preparations have to be done accordingly. All right, I think that we have all seen at least a version of these maps that Pagasa has just gone through with us. Okay, so of course the next thing that we need to do is the OCD will give us a run through of what we have been able to do thus far to prepare for Pepito.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Ah,
President and members of the cabinet and colleagues. So next slide, please. So before I go with the preparations for Pepito, I just wanted everyone to be aware of the effects of Christine, Leon, Marce, Nika, and Ophel. All of these tropical cyclones affected the country in 3 weeks or so, and also somewhat made some preemptive evacuation. And if you would look at the map on the right side, you would see in terms of the heat map or severity of the situation, northern Luzon has been affected by several typhoons. And the light blue colors are the ones affected by Christine, Leon, Nika, and Ophel. And the white ones are affected by Christine and Leon. Of these 4 tropical cyclones, it was Christine that made some kind of casualties, 162 dead. But if you would look at Marce, Nika, and Ophel, equally strong tropical cyclones, we have 1 casualty for Marce and 2 missing persons for Nika and Ophel. For Ophel, we haven't had any casualty yet. We're expecting for Nika and Ophel for the statistics to still go up because they had been affected from one way or the other, just one day of calm to be able to do rapid assessments. Next slide. And this is also the statistics specifically for Nika and Ophel. This is going to be a running data as of now because most of the local government units haven't been doing a rapid assessment yet because for Ophel, and some of the preparations are still being done, mainly because they have to consider worst case scenario as well for Pepito if they would be affected as well. But looking at it, based on the heat map again, it's Region 2 that has been affected, specifically Isabela for Nika, and followed by Cagayan, mainly because of the strong winds and the amount of rain that it poured over the region. Next slide, please. So in terms of preparation, we do pre-disaster risk analysis within the NDRRMC. We know for a fact that risk analysis is very important to understand and to have an awareness of the elements of risk, especially people that are going to be along harm's way, and even the services that would be affected in case there would be some kind of a risk. And in this particular, we rely heavily on the information coming from Pag-asa, and this how could be translated into warnings and alerts at the local level. And also for the public to be aware of the hazards to consider in terms of planning and specifically for preparedness planning. For us, it's also very important that since there are consecutive tropical cyclones coming our way, it's very important to have that window of calm or to determine that window of response that we can be able to replenish and at the same time preposition assets in between that calm. And basically, it's very important as well to consider at Manila level, at the national level, the likely scenario. All of these are being translated into worst case scenario by the agencies or by the local government units. Since there is what we call the window of uncertainty, we're not sure yet where Pepito would be heading. So in terms of planning, we have already alerted with the support of the local government units through the DILG to alert regions 1, CAR, 2, 3, NCR, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, 5, 6, 7, 8, for 6 and 7, they're also being alerted because of the activity of Kanlaon, sir. Next slide.
Wait, before, just to be very clear, when you say we alert them, what do we do exactly? What does
Basically,
it
these
mean that you
alerts are
alert them?
being translated into what they call this one, warnings. Warnings to the local government units to do preemptive evacuation, inform them of the hazards that are coming their way. For example,
Who do you
hazard-prone
alert? The
areas.
province?
The province, the local government, from the province, municipal, and even the barangay level, sir, through the support of the local
Yeah,
government units
but
and
but
DILG.
but OCD sends the warning to the province,
Yes,
I
sir.
presume. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's what we do.
All right.
We work hand in hand with the DILG. Next slide, please. So basically, all of this from PAG-ASA and from the MGB, Mines and Geosciences Bureau of DNR, we overlay the number of people and the barangays that would be affected. All of this are translated into warnings, alerts, and in the same manner, memoranda to the local chief executives. And this is very important, at least for the people to heed the advice from their local chief executives. And at the same time, it's very important for us to understand where would be the elements at risk so that we can be able to make sure that once the storm passes, we can be able to provide emergency relief assistance for life-saving purposes. And to ensure as well that there would be humanitarian access so that people would have access to essential services. Next slide.
Can you explain this map? Because this storm surge is something that we haven't had to deal with us so far. So that is how far if the storm surge is at 3 meters.
Yes.
How far inland? Yung pula, is that the indicator?
It depends on, I think PAG-ASA and MGB would be able to help me with this, but it depends on the slope and it depends
naturally,
on the
yes, but we know the slopes of these areas. So can you give us some kind of indicator? How far inland, if there is a 3-meter storm surge, how far inland will they reach? Maybe we can have a shaded map so that we can also warn those LGUs that are within the danger area that there is a possibility of a storm surge. 3 meters. Malaki. Yeah.
If I may, sir, actually MGB had also mentioned to us that as much as possible, there would be a minimum of 5-meter easement from the shore. But ideally, it should have been 10 meters. 10 meters in easement so that there would be people not on harm's way for that matter.
Actually, there's one thing we learned from Yolanda.
Yes, sir.
It does not matter the distance from the high water mark. It matters the height above the high water mark. You can move 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters, but if it's still on the same level, tatamaan pa rin yan. The key element is that that's why the response in Yolanda was actually mistaken, because we moved back from the high water mark. That's not the test. The test is the height above the storm surge. So if it's 3 meters, we have to look at the topographical map and see where 3 meters is above the high water mark. Because we have the communities that are within the storm surge areas have to do other things besides just prepare for strong winds and heavy rain. Kasi pagpasok ibang effect niyan. So people have to we have to get them to the high ground. It's not enough to move them away from the sea. We have to get them to high ground. That's the only thing that we can do when there is a storm surge. All right, so can we generate that so that the DILG can also specifically target and say may risk kayo na tatamaan kayo ng ano, and we will send them the map and say dito sa probinsya ninyo ganito. Oh, all right. Okay, so keep going.
So Could you please return to that? And this particular kind of, the main message that we wanted to convey here is for local government actions, local government units to take actions. One is preemptive evacuation. And next slide, please. So basically, these are the generic and at the same time the preparedness actions or the preparations for Pepito that is being recommended for the local government units to hit. So the national and local governments are advised to take advantage of the window of calm, that's one day, between Ophel and Pepito to continue with ongoing response for Marce and Nika and preparation for Pepito for other regions, including the conduct of preemptive evacuation or forced evacuation starting 15 November. And information dissemination in the form of alerts and warnings to the public utilizing national and local media platforms, and replenishment and prepositioning of emergency relief supplies for life-saving purposes. The public is also advised and encouraged to refrain from unnecessary travels to keep supply roads open, because this number two actually was one of the lessons learned we had from Christine. If you would remember, there was a long traffic coming from Matno going to Legazpi, from Sorsogon going to Legazpi, because there were so many trucks that has been stranded along the way. And at the same time, we along Camarines Sur during Christine as well, there was a long traffic and some trucks that has been stranded, and we have a hard time bringing along fuel to Camarines Sur at the time. So from now on, I think this is a very good way to be able to advise the public that supply roads have to be open, supply lines have to be open for emergency purposes. LGU, especially those that had been affected by the consecutive tropical cyclones, to identify additional evacuation centers. As I mentioned, for Christine and Julian and other tropical cyclones, there are protracted IDPs already in the evacuation centers, specifically in Mimaropa, those that has been affected by Christine because of the landslide and the floods as well in Bicol region. They're still in the evacuation center, and some of them have lost their houses. But then, and at the same time, if Christine would pass through Region 3, those who had already been displaced would still advised to continue. That means they have, for the local chief executives, they are being advised to identify additional evacuation centers that are sturdy enough to be able to house them. And at the same time, we are calling all local chief executives, especially the governors, mayors, and punong barangays, to implement response preparedness measures and activation of relevant national and regional coordination platforms, such as the NDRRMC Interagency Coordination Center for ease of coordination and decision-making processes. That's all from our side. Next slide. I think basically this is also the prepositioned sea, air, and land assets for mobility and since 4 November 2024, so that we can be able to provide the necessary equipment or search and rescue teams whenever it's necessary to be deployed elsewhere. And they are here in terms of prepositioning. This is also part of the preparations for Pepito. Next slide. As far as the QRF for OCD, we have more than 211 million as of the moment. And next slide. And in terms of anticipated humanitarian needs, obviously, and hope that Pepito doesn't create some havoc, but in case if there would be, since we have already protracted stay of people in the evacuation center, there would be a need to support camp coordination and camp management or evacuation center management. There are already houses that has been destroyed or damaged, and they will be needing emergency shelter assistance. Water, sanitation, and hygiene in some areas have been an issue in terms of potable water and hygiene kits. And in some other areas, especially the ones in Region 2, they have to, their power and communication has to be fully restored yet. I think from the transmission lines, they've already been restored. but in the distribution lines, that's where the issue is. And then additional food and NFIs to sustain the evacuation centers and even people who have already gone back to their houses. Emergency medical services to sustain basic life support, and rehabilitation of school facilities that has been rendered damaged or destroyed, and in the long run, rehabilitation of livelihoods. I think that's the last slide, sir.
That's it. All right. Just another. I noted this this map that you have preparations for Pepito, where you have the map of the distribution of assets that you have made. I noticed that, well, first of all, we don't see Region 5 and Region 8. So we don't know. But nonetheless, if you look at this, if you look at that map, it seems most of our resources are still in the north, northern Luzon. But that's not. Are we able to move some of those away to bring them to, or again, alam natin, Samar na naman ang tatamaan. Region 8, tatamaan na naman ang Region 8. Equal for sure. And Kamsur again. So shouldn't our assets be prepositioned there rather than still up o ginagamit pa, hindi pa makuha, hindi pa ginagamit pa?
Yes, every morning at the IICC, we would always have a roll call or some kind of a briefing within the interagencies coordination center, and all of the regional centers of the Office of Civil Defense are there. And basically, it was not just included here. For example, in Region 8, they have already prepositioned, especially in Eastern Samar and Northern Samar, some flood assets, water search and rescue assets already, even emergency medical teams already been strategically placed. For Region 5, they've already been there since Christine and have been moved. All of these assets somewhat are already prepositioned even before for Marce and even before.
Yeah.
So some of them are national assets already just strategically placed in those areas, sir. And if ever necessary, we can also pull out some of the assets in some other regions that are not yet being utilized as of now. But what is very important is some assets have to be strategically placed in some of the regions so that they have at a minimum some readiness to begin with. Mainly because although we haven't seen anything yet for the tropical cyclones, we just have to make sure that there is at a minimum assets for such as this that are prepositioned in any part of the regions.
So in your judgment, our all of these assets we're talking about are mobility assets, heavy equipment, ambulance, fire truck, water truck, vessels, rescue boats, water assets, helicopters. They are distributed as best as they can be to anticipate the coming of Pepito.
Yes, sir. We as
Wala kasi sa mapa yung
Yes, sir.
Region 5 at saka Region 8.
We showed you before, sir, in the initial packages.
The one you
before.
sent me, yes.
Yeah, the
Oo.
more granular
Yes,
dispositions.
yes.
That's replicated throughout the regions.
Throughout the
already.
regions.
Yes, sir. Just
Alright.
for brevity's sake, we did not show it.
The list is on the.
Yes, I see the pero the locations is not shown. And again, Region 8 because malapit na eh. Malapit na yan. As it is clearly it will be there first. The rain will be felt first in Region 8 and then 5 and then depending on the track, tatawid na ng Luzon and we'll go through Central Luzon.
The only change, sir, here will be the air
Yeah.
assets. We'll have to secure them in secure hangars. We cannot pre-deploy them in areas because of the lack of hardened hangarage facilities.
Well, the military is the one who is fairly who trained for this to preposition assets in a way that we are keeping them safe from damage and destruction from the storm, and that's what we have to. Those are the kinds of guidance. That's the kind of guidance that we have to follow. All right. Okay. So the next briefing will be given by the SWD.
Thank you, Mr.
Secretary
President.
Rex.
Mr. President, I only have 3 slides. If you can pull up the 3 slides. Mr. President, just like what the OCD people did, we contextualize it in the point of view of starting with Christine. Just for everybody's information, Mr. President, October 19, our national stockpile of family food packs stood at close to 2.1 million. Now, right after Christine and Leon, that number dropped to 1.3 million nationwide. Now, these numbers, Mr. President, are not static because while we do pre-position, we also produce in our warehouse simultaneous. So for the total 5 storms, Christine, Leon, Marce, Nika, Ophel, we released a total of 1.6 million. So theoretically, if the number was static, ang matitira na lang sa atin, 2 million less 1.6, dapat nasa 400 na lang. But it doesn't work that way because every day we produce. From out of our repacking center in Pasay, then we opened another center in Central Luzon,
That's right.
and then one in Visayas is running that supplied Bicol, actually. Now, Mr. President, again, we are now in the stage where we pre-position, we produce, we dispatch, all at the same time. We produce and respond at the same time, in short. Next slide. Now, Mr. President, we tried to ascertain saan dadaan si Pepito, and these are the areas where we reinforce the pre-positioning. So for Region 1, we were back to its original strength of 91,000 pre-positioned family food packs. Region 2 is only at 18,000 because nagre-release pa rin sila up to now. That whole operation will end for Ophel by Sunday pa, Mr. President. Because as we speak right now, we're still getting a lot of requests for augmentation from local government units. So what's happening is we send, they release, we send, release. By Sunday, bookend na ho kami for Ophel sa region, for the storm Ophel. Region 3 is at 56. This used to be at 300,000 because, as I mentioned, we're repacking there and deploying to the regions. Now, CAR is at close to its maximum capacity at 52,000. Calabarzon, Mr. President, we focused on Quezon at 30,000. This one, we're not worried, Mr. President, because meron pa siyang ibang peripheral warehouses outside that Quezon area. And then Region 5, we brought it back to 98,000. Ideally, it should have been at 150. But Mr. President, meron pa rin kaming sinasagot na early recovery for Christine. That hasn't stopped yet. Now, Region 8 is close to its original at 83,000, Mr. President. So this should sustain us. I mean, ideally, should have been bigger, but this should sustain us for the first impact. And then we'll keep on augmenting as we go along. Ang nangyayari kasi, Mr. President, as I mentioned, we are still releasing for the previous storms while stockpiling and doing everything at the same time. Now, the third slide, Mr. President, are the major takeaways. We maintain a 1.3 stockpile nationwide, especially in Vismin. We're not dropping that. Then we're now utilizing 2 supply lines. Simultaneously, we're producing from Central Luzon, Pasay, and Cebu. But we're already getting our suppliers delivered to us pre-pack. So dalawa na, while we're producing, we're also receiving pre-pack levels. Now, Mr. President, we anticipated that starting this weekend, Saturday till Sunday, our normal Luzon-based production was at 35,000 a day.
Okay.
Next week, we'll hit 85,000. It won't drop at 50,000 kasi we're expecting Pepito to be really bad. So that's why sinabay-sabay namin lahat for next week. So our Luzon-based production or stockpile will be at any given time 50,000 a day, sometimes pa 85,000. Now, from November 13 to December 7, we would have produced close to 1 million family food packs on top of the 1.3. So yung lagi hong tinatanong kung kaya pa ho natin. Kaya ho natin because we just got our QRF and we can produce another 1 million on top of the 1.3 million that's spread nationwide. So we're okay, Mr. President, in terms of family food packs.
All right. Okay. And all right. So we have a little time, very little time, to ramp up all of these preparations. So let's take full advantage of that. And so we are okay we are all right in terms of the food packs and in terms of the other yung mga wash, mga non-food.
Yes,
okay. And well, okay, all right. Again, to give us a better idea, Pag-asa, can you tell us anong wings niya And how much water do you expect us to get in the different regions?
The wind strength as of 2 p.m. this afternoon, Mr. President, is 150 kilometers per hour near the center, and then with the gustiness of Bugso na abot ng 185 kilometers per hour. Of course, we expect this to strengthen as the Pipito move closer to Eastern Visayas and Bicol regions. Rainfall, of course, kanina po up to 200, greater than 200 millimeters of rain, particularly in Catanduanes. For 2 days, ito po yung maka-receive talaga ng malakas mga pag-ulan. And then on Sunday afternoon to Monday afternoon, Camarines Sur, Camarines Norte, and Quezon.
Is there a way to forecast how many inches, how many millimeters of rain is expected?
Yes, there is a corresponding millimeters of rain, and of course the expected impacts on the ground, on the rainfall, please.
The slides will show. Can you turn the next slide? Sige pa. Yeah.
Moderate. So yung intense is more than 200 millimeters.
So sometimes times 2 po pag dalawang araw na ganyan. That's 200 a day. Yes, per day.
200 a day.
Yes, sir. So next.
We have to account
So
for
you-
the saturation.
Yes, so we awarded with the Bicol region.
Yeah, for the saturation level.
Well, the one is that first of all, the land is saturated.
Yes, sir.
So wala nang ma-absorb ang lupa. And that's kaya ang daming gumuguho. So and then there's also the damage already that has been done to our flood control our flood control in infrastructure. So we really have to do a little extra here because parang ano na tayo, yun na nga, we are already in bad shape because of the saturation, because of the the damages that has been done not only to our infrastructure but to private homes, to other structures. So some of those will not be available to us any longer, and so that's why we have to adjust. We have to adjust accordingly. The one thing that I think we should not ignore is the storm surge, because we haven't had to deal with this until Pepito. The last time we had big storm surges were the super typhoons that we went through, and when there is a storm surge, it of course is very destructive in terms of infrastructure, both public and private. But also the casualty rate pag storm surge, kung hindi nakahanda ang tao, ang dami talagang natatangay. I remember very well in Yolanda, there were many people that we never accounted for anymore, especially in the peninsula, yung tawag ng Barangay 88 ng Tacloban. Lahat doon, the peninsula was overrun. Many of those people, we never saw them anymore because we didn't know that there was going to be a storm surge. So now this is why I'm asking that we identify the areas where does the figure 3 meters storm surge come from? Now, how did you calculate that? Sa modeling ninyo, 3 meters, all right. So I think we really have to do that so that because the only way to battle a storm surge is to go up. Pagka medyo matibay-tibay yung building, pwede kang umakyat and just let the storm surge come in. Pero kung walang ganun na shelter, kailangan umalis sila dun sa area na yun. Kundi itatangay talaga sila ng pagbalik ng tubig, dadalhin sila sa labas, dadalhin sila sa dagat. So that's something that we have to pay attention to. So can we generate that map as soon as possible so that we can allow the DILG to warn those areas that there is a storm surge. Now, what is the warning pag storm surge? Anong sinasabi natin sa tao na ano itong bantayan ninyo? Ito yung gawin ninyo. Kailangan talaga evacuate. Talagang pinakamaganda evacuate.
Yes, sir. That's the only solution.
Mr. President, in the past administrations, we have preemptive evacuation the day before.
You have to do it, yes.
So those communities that have been warned for storm surge before
Mm-mm.
should know where they are supposed to go. Because in the map, marami naman po dyan very steep slope and elevated. So they just need to identify the flat and the bay-like shapes.
Mm-mm.
So communities can be there.
Well, many of that population is already in the evacuation centers because of the past storms. So that's something. But I'm sure there are new areas here. Because dito, dito nga sa kabila eh. Pulang-pula eh. Oh. Hindi pa.
Sir, if I may, sir, ang OCD, sir, ang pinakamagaling mag-communicate sa mga barangays. When we had our simulation meeting, SITRAP meeting last Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, OCD was the one communicating directly to the barangay captain level.
Okay,
And informing them of what action to take. And it's very effective, sir.
But when we inform them, we say it looks like the storm will pass in your area. Here's what you do. You have to give them guidance. Itong gagawin ninyo. We only have, if we're going to send the warnings out today, this evening, then we'll say you have very little time. We have to prepare. You have to get the evacuation has to be done.
That's what we did with Nika, sir. And it was very effective.
Evacuation.
Mr. President, the list of towns to be affected by the LGUs are also included in
You have it already.
in the Pangasa warning.
Uh-huh. That's for the surge, for storm surge. Okay, again, what do we tell people?
Sir,
Because yung storm surge, people think it's like sa sine, yung big wave na gano'n. It's not. It's just water that doesn't stop coming in. Basta tuloy-tuloy ang pasok, paakat ang tubig. Paglabas niyan, ang bigat ng tubig niyan, lahat tangay niyan sa dagat. Ang bigat ng tubig. So, what is our instruction to those areas that are in danger to be overwhelmed by a storm surge?
Sir, we cascade the warnings and the instructions through the IACC, both the DILG, DNR, DOST, PAGASA, and us are there. We cascade the warnings down to the regional directors, and we give through the DILG the order to preemptively evacuate already. So that's the trigger. Once there's storm surge, DILG warns, preemptive evacuation already, sir.
From our previous experience in Marcy and in Nika, the northern Luzon provinces were very diligent in the evacuation exercises. Today, we're going to have to test Region 5 again because during Typhoon Christine, they were not as efficient in evacuating people. Hopefully, they've learned their lessons. But OCD is very deliberate and very precise with their warnings, and they go to the barangay levels and tell them to move to higher ground or to go straight to the evacuation areas. Sir, OCD is on call 24/7, and if in case that we need to send out warnings, 1 hour lead time, and everyone assembles in the office, and we have a conference room downstairs so we communicate directly by video.
You forecast it to be over the Philippines for how long? You'll be out by Monday evening? If it continues to travel at what, 30 kilometers per hour? By Monday, it will be over water. Wala na sa lupa.
It will exit the landmass through Pangasinan. Yep.
Or by Monday.
It will be
Out of par by
by Monday. All right. So that means if it's going to rain heavily, it will start on Saturday and Sunday and Monday. That's still 600 millimeters of rain. that's
400.
oh. Well, I mean, I'm to be very simple about it. 3 times 2 is 600. So, magiging that medyo worst case scenario is that we will be getting about 500 to 600 millimeters of rain in 3 days. So 200 millimeters per day. I think 200 millimeters per day is more or less something that we can
Sir, I think
that we have
Metro,
seen before.
Sir, NCR, I think is in greatest danger here
Yes,
because Ondoy was 450 millimeters over 24 hours.
but this is over 24 hours.
Over 24
Oo.
hours. But sir, if this persists on Saturday track, that it passes through, as we see now, on the NCR is very vulnerable to flooding again because of the natural tendency for it. If it receives more than 200 ml, it floods already all over Metro Manila. So that has to be preemptively warned to our NCR mayor, sir.
Well, it'll be the same problems that we always see in NCR, but at least now we have a better idea where, because as we've begun to see yung dinadaanan ng tubig nagbabago eh. Pero yung bagong pinagdadaanan na dinadaanan ng tubig, medyo alam na natin ngayon. So let's look back on the experience that we've had in the past few typhoons that caused extreme flooding that dropped 700 millimeters in just past 24 hours.
Mr. President,
Just a little more than 24.
Metro Manila, for Metro Manila, the color is orange, so up
Yeah.
to around 100 millimeters. But to give our public an idea of when a landslide or flood would occur, the threshold for the assessment is around 100. So if it's more than 100, floods and landslides can already happen. So when we explain about why we look at the 100, 200, 200 and above, it's the 100 threshold that we are looking at.
But
Landslides can
that's
happen
for
already.
landslides, but we have
And
to
also flood. And
yeah,
can
yung
be lower.
flooding kasi is the,
Yeah, and
the,
flood
amount, the
cost.
volume of water
Yes,
that we can actually we can move out.
But with the saturation, it can be lower than 100.
Yun na nga. That's the added factor there that we didn't really have to worry about before. All right. I think that we have everything that we can do. We have everything that we need to have in place. We have very little time left to prepare, but it's a good thing actually. Kahit papaano nasa labas na yung mga gamit natin, hindi na natin dadalhin. But we just now the prepositioning is going to be critical, not only of the food packs, but of course all the search and rescue assets that we're going to be needing. Ayan, we'll go back to the rubber boats. We'll be going back to what is our airlift capability in these terms now. How many aircraft do we have available to us so that as soon as the storm passes, kung makapasok na tayo.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, we have 3 C-130s available, 1 C-295, one NC-212I, 7 Black Hawks, 2 Huey-2s, 1 Super Huey, and 3 Sokol helicopters. These are in Luzon. In the Visayas and Mindanao, we have 6 Black Hawk helicopters, 2 each in the Visayas Command, West Mindanao Command, and East Mindanao Command.
The ones in Visayas and Mindanao, where are they? Where are those assets now?
They are in Cebu, and
They're only Cebu.
yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
We also have Seacraft available, Mr. President. We have 5 Navy ships available, and about 129 rubber boats available nationwide, Mr. President.
Okay. We will again, in terms of food, water supply, those are the things that we have to immediately be concerned about. The pre-evacuation, gawin natin tama yun. The new feature here that we have to deal with is a storm surge, because that's as fatal as a regular, just a typhoon. Let us not forget the lessons that ng storm surge, because again, to go back to Yolanda, the problem is we were telling everybody magkaka-storm surge. Nobody knew what a storm surge was. We should have just said tsunami. The people would have left the coast. But the storm surge, nobody knew until it makita mo papasok na, and the water just kept going higher and higher and higher. So that's why we have to give very specific guidance to the LGUs as to how to deal with the storm surge. Again, I know that the critical element when it comes to storm surge is not the distance from the high water, from the high tide mark, but it is the elevation above the high water mark. That is the key element. If it's a 3-meter storm surge, we have to get people at least 5 meters above that level. Oh. Yes. Okay.
When I used to warn for tsunami, we have to worry about not only the event, but the accompanying hazard. So if you talk about a tropical cyclone, if we talk about a storm surge, and then we select an evacuation area, it's an elevated area. They must have a roof, kasi umuulan. Plus, they should worry about the possibility of landslide affecting the selected evacuation area. So they have to be very selective. Kasi sabay-sabay po ang posibleng mangyari.
Actually, we might discover that some of the evacuation centers that we have are within those. Yun ang delikado. We lose people from that. Yung nasisira yung evacuation center, magkaka-casualty tayo doon sa evacuation center mismo. So, mabigat talaga itong. What is the long-term forecast? Meron pa bang parating?
May vacation po tayo.
Of how long? Is there anything developing in the
2 weeks wala pang nakikita.
In the Pacific? Okay, so well that's I think that we have done we as usual we properly followed the procedures that we had set out for ourselves for disaster response, and with the added feature that the storm surge, we must remember all the lessons that we learned from previous incidents of the storm surge, and we have to provide guidance to our local executives so that they know what to do and how to protect themselves against a possible storm surge. There is a list here. LGUs to pre-position equipment. We do that anyway, all the time. Without basta't may storm, dinalabas na namin yung mga backhoe, yung mga pati yung mga chainsaw, dinalabas na hanggang para makalapit agad. So that's that the LGUs know how to do that. The Public Works and the OTR will also be doing the same things. Sa kuryente, wala tayong magagawa. We batten down the hatches and puputulan talaga natin dahil ayaw natin magka-disgrasya. So,
Mr. President, on the fuel, which we experienced in Christine, I think we would need the same approach. Unfortunately, vehicles clogged the highways because they were involuntarily stranded. So they could not be moved easily, and I think this is where the composite team was able to clear the highways for the fuel convoys, because the ports might not be clear yet to replenish some of them right after. So we'll play that by ear. In the case of Central Luzon, Mr. President, the last super typhoon that went through central Luzon was Carding in September of 2022. And you will recall that you noted that there were 69 kV lines in central Luzon, and you were wondering, in fact, why we still have 69 kV transmission lines. And we still have around 38 of them directly in central Luzon. And the 69 kV lines of NGCP can withstand only 120 to 160 kilometers per hour winds. So if the winds are much higher than that and with gas, we really would expect to have power interruption from the transmission side. The distribution lines, some of them are sturdier because they were more recently replaced, but we're particularly attending to the transmission lines because of this vulnerability.
Well, the critical facilities, of course, are government services, the hospitals, the offices, so that the LGUs can at least operate to an extent. The other is a storm surge. The other thing that dapat ilayo, vehicles. Oo. Because when I first arrived in Leyte, there were 3 vehicles running. Everything was washed out, was destroyed. So the vehicles that we're going to use, make sure that they're away from that. Kasi kukunin ng dagat yan pagka hindi natin ilayo.
Sir, with the IACC, in connection with the traffic, with the IACC here, we also have the Coast Guard and the PPA, where if we foresee that there will be traffic caused by ROROs, we already recommend a no sale.
Okay. All right. Then communications. How do we immediately provide communications? Because that's another thing that will come down. We always expected the cell sites to immediately come back up. Pero itong recently, talagang nasira din walang cell site at all. So what we have to be able, because we have to be able to communicate with our people, with the local officials. What options do we have to help in that regard? Magpadala tayo. What we used to send those big trucks na satellite, but now maliliit na yung satellite. Siguro we should.
Insofar as the OCD is concerned, sir, we are equipped with satellite communications and other HF radios throughout. And part of the DICT cell in the IACC also provides emergency communications equipment pre and post disasters. So far in these 2 disasters, we had no problems with communication loss insofar as monitoring is concerned, sir.
I remember before that everyone, most LGUs have a satellite phone.
It was a long time ago, sir.
Now it no longer. Maybe that's something we need to think about. So we provide the mayors, may satellite phones sila. With the Starlink. Maybe that's a better. Yeah. Pero ang problema sa Starlink, kakaunti lang ang pwedeng gumamit. So each unit.
Starlink, sir, I think the big one can 200 units at once.
Yung malaki.
Yung malaki 200 at once. I think, sir, that should be mandatory already in all the provinces, sir.
At saka, sir, the old reliable is an HF.
Yes. HF
is old reliable.
All right. So let's tignan natin na mabuti yun.
Yes, sir.
So that we can the more quickly and the better we are able to communicate, the better we will be able to deploy our resources in the right place at the right time, in the right amount.
So maybe Monday na sa level namin ni Secretary Gilbert ang
Yung-
response sa Monday. Kami na naman kaya Monday. Kasi Monday yung assessment and release na naman.
I guess we'll be.
Total yung CELDA, sir. Yung IACC dito. Ganda. Kaya kinakailangan ng importanteng desisyon. laban ng fatigue nila.
Oo, yung mga tao natin, walang tigil na silang nagtatrabaho.
Monday, sir,
Are they, ang
Monday ang response scenario dapat. Once
Yeah.
they exit, that's when you get the accurate assessment.
Bukas and Sunday, sir.
Yeah.
We will be constantly monitoring and adjusting, and then back.
Oo, we always talk about
honor uncertainty, sir.
the victims. Pero
Yes, sir.
yung mga personnel natin,
That's right.
ngayon lang kasi nasunod-sunod eh.
That's right, sir.
Yeah, this, for sure. At saka walang oras yan. They're working in the rain, they're working in the sun, they're working 24 hours a day. So let's make sure that our personnel are in reasonably good shape para naman na hindi sila masyadong mahirapan, because if they start becoming sick or becoming
Casualty na ako, sir.
na ano,
Lumutag sa helicopter kasama ko pilay.
na balian.
Pilay.
Pilay. Oh, okay.
Mr. President, can we request also the local chief executives to monitor the monitoring agency? When it comes to source modeling, this is forecast model. So as the typhoon gets closer, and sometimes it would increase in strength, we can change the color. It can be higher than 3 at some point. So once we release a new bulletin or information, even those closer to the eastern side of Central Luzon, baka may threat din ng storm surge yan. So i-model din po yun pag lumalapit yung bagyo.
That will be dependent on
The strength.
how much stronger
Yes, sir.
it
Yes, po.
gets.
So, because sabihin, what we presented today is just for this time, but it can change.
So the assumption is that at this strength,
Yes.
I think it's safe to assume, or it will be prudent to assume, that it will strengthen.
Yes, sir. So we request the DILG to remind the chief executives and disaster managers to monitor continuously.
Maybe if it is very it is inevitable, at least scientifically speaking, if it is inevitable that it will strengthen, the warnings we should be giving out are already worst case. Kasi doon din pupunta eh. So let's do that.
Yes, sir. And
Gawin nyo yung worst case scenario na pag nandiyan na, nag-strengthen yung Pepito, ano ngayon ang magiging sitwasyon? Ano nang kulay doon sa kanilang lugar? Oo, para
Sir, we're in constant touch with
Yeah.
Nat here and his people. It is constant, 24/7. And we immediately download and cascade through the DILG cell the latest information. And as a matter of fact, I have to thank Nat Servando, because I've been pressing him to make some predictions
Yes.
and assumptions or guesses, basically, which we need for planning. And they have been very, very cooperative and effective doing that, sir. So we thank the Pag-asa. And for the constant interaction now, sir.
Yeah, but it's all very well to continue monitoring and to have very accurate meteorology, but if we know that we are going to that the typhoon, that Pepito will get to that strength at some point, that's what we have to prepare for. We don't have to prepare for what's happening today, Friday, what's happening today, Saturday. Palakas ng palakas, palakas ng palakas. Let's go straight to that worst case scenario.
He will need it for camp management.
Ayan, isa pa yan.
Because, sir, also, if we go to evacuation centers, it also makes the delivery of essential goods and services more efficient, quicker, and safer for everyone. We can even give cooked food already, sir, rather than the food banks.
Mr. President,
May hot food na. Yes,
which
sir.
leads me to another point. Can you go back to the rainfall slide? Rainfall slide, the one that we'd read. All right, Dr. Senbato, you said walang humpay na ulan. What is the indicative data so far? Is this going to be 24 hours in one day? Is this or minimum 15 hours a day, or is it 10 hours a day? Walang humpay na ulan.
This is the validity of the this slide is 24 hours.
24-hour forecast.
24-hour
So
forecast.
walang humpay na ulan 24 hours a day from Saturday noon to Sunday.
More or
afternoon.
less.
Yes,
More or less.
Because of the term torrential. Torrential.
Sir, do we have a estimate on how long it will spend in each province, the rainfall? But 24 hours is our forecast from entry to exit. Diba? But how long do we estimate Pepito to be in Philippines from landfall to exit to landfall?
For tomorrow, noon time up to Sunday noon time.
So it's Saturday noon time until
Sunday noon.
Sunday noon time. So therefore, the center of the storm is moving.
Yeah, so they have a daily forecast. So by Sunday noon to Monday noon, meron. Can you show?
Do you have an
other
hourly
slides?
forecast of like a province-wide forecast on how long it will rain in the area? It cannot be 24 hours because the storm is moving. Because that will.
Slides. So this is Sunday for tomorrow.
Yes.
The next slide. That's the next day.
Sa laki kasi ng
Sa laki na rin, okay.
ng rain.
Oo,
Kaya
malawak.
may
It's very, very wide.
Okay. Okay.
When we warn the LGUs, do we provide them with maps? These kinds of maps?
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, these are accessible on social media, in social pages. That's why local government units, if you in our monitoring, local government units keep on sharing, posting the Pag-asa reports po, on a regular basis po.
All right. Again, siguro so that because people cannot be just monitoring na nakabantay, titignan nila dito ito yung sitwasyon natin. Then so let's again give them the worst case scenario already, so that as best as we can forecast the worst case scenario, bad as it might be, we have done all the preparation for that. The blessing for us is hindi magamit lahat yon. So that's no loss to us. That is a big advantage to us. So let's but wag naman nating takutin yung mga local. Sabihin natin na talagang masyadong malakas, pero ito yung maaari yung gawin. Ito yung mga nag-aantay na tutulong sa inyo. Ang gawin nyo lang, mag-evacuate kayo ng mabuti. Kayo sa mga surge, may suspected areas for storm surge, umakyat na kayo sa mataas-taas na lugar. Well, okay, we'll just have to do what we can. What's very, very critical, and the LG is going to need that information, is information that they know what's going to happen. People know, the executives, the officials, down to the village level, the barangay level. Alam nila yung mangyayari, what to anticipate, so they can do. Then we also provide guidance. Say ito yung gawin ninyo, as much as possible. So that's what we should do. So can we get that done today? Sa LGUs, as long as you get all the information out, padala mo na sa kanila. Send it to the phones of the mayors, send it to the phones of the governors para meron na silang kopya. Hindi na sila kailangan maghanap. Tayo magpadala ng mga information na ganito. Padala natin sa mga telepono ng mayor at saka governor. Tapos, pwede na nilang i-print out yun, gamitin na nila. Oo. Yeah. Let's get as much information to everybody as quickly as possible. When can we complete that package? In the warning package, the package that we will send via email, via Facebook, whatever. All, in fact, not whatever, all of them. Gagawin natin with
this afternoon. So we're ready.
You have it ready.
Yeah, we are continuously warning and updating. Sir.
Okay, all right.
It's a constant.
So provide the DILG.
It's a constant thing.
So provide the DILG with all that information so that they can disseminate it as
And together with the local government units and the Office of Civil Defense, the likely scenario that we have developed at the Manila level, they have developed it translated into worst case scenario, sir. So that including all of the hazards that has been mentioned over here. So a worst case scenario is the one that you've seen, the one that was sent to you by the Secretary of National Defense for CAR. And all of the regions has their worst case scenario already developed.
All right. Okay. Well, again, yes, just keep doing that. Watch out for the storm surge. Continue what we're doing for the relief goods. Our assets for rescue, search and rescue. Being placed, the local governments, alam naman nila, sanay naman sila. Alam nila ang gagawin nila. Basta sabihin mo, may parating. Alam na nila ang gagawin nila. Okay, I think we've attended to most of the basics. Is there anything else that we need to be worried about? All right, thank you very much. At we have to, ang una natin ginagawa ay we have to redistribute our assets na ginagamit natin para sa mga nakaraang bagyo na mostly dumaan ng Northern Luzon. So yung ibang asset na yan kailangan dalhin sa mukhang tatamaan na naman ng big pati Region 8, pati Region 5. Mukhang tatamaan ulit. And then back naman dito sa Region 2, Isabela, Cagayan. But also Central Luzon kasi pati NCR mukhang aabutan nito. So we have to reposition many of our assets to make sure that at least in the search and rescue phase that we are ready or we have our assets available. The LGUs are being continuously informed about the weather situation together with guidance and instructions on what to do. The airlift capability for pagdala ng mga gamit for search and rescue, mga relief goods, etc. ay mukhang nakahanda naman. Airlift, pati na yung mga barko na nagdadala ng mga relief goods. Ang aking nakita na medyo bago at naiba doon sa mga nakaraan ng bagyo, yung storm surge. Kung naalala ninyo, ito ang napakadelikado dahil noon nung nagka-storm surge tayo, lalong-lalo na ng Yolanda, ay hindi natin alam kung ano yung storm surge. Ngayon alam na natin. So lessons learned from the previous typhoons where we have had storm surges. It seems to be a significant one because if we're talking about 3 meters, that's almost 1 floor. So kailangan talaga nating abisuhan ang mga LGUs natin na nakikita natin na baka abutan ng storm surge. So this is what we are concentrating on. We have very little time to do it because ang forecast is that we will start feeling the storm by tomorrow. Kasi hindi naman not necessarily yung mata ay pumasok na. Kahit na yung sa gilid pa lamang umuulan na yan. The rainfall is going to be comparable to maybe Christine and Marcy, and we hope that that's why we are doing all that we can to warn people to prepare. So that's what we have done for the arrival of Pepito.
Sir, this is the 5th typhoon, sir, yung Pepito.
I'm sorry?
If ika-5 or ika-6 na bagyo na itong Pepito, medyo marami na yung agricultural loss natin. Are you bothered na yung food security ay maapektuhan at yung presyo ng bigas?
I don't know. In terms of food security, we're all right. But marami talagang nasira. Ang dami nang nasira na palayan, ang dami nasira na na tanim. We will just have to compensate for that. Dahil we just came out of El Nino na although during the El Nino time we had the highest production pa rin for that season. Pero ito talaga sinisira talaga yung tanim. So that's going to be something be something that will require attention.
This will not result, sir, sa more rice importation.
Yes. I think so. Unfortunately, I just received a report from the DA. Mukhang madadagdagan ng importation natin. We will import close to 4.5 million tons. Nag 3.9 tayo last year. Ang upper estimate is 4.5. But we have already in place the prices of rice. Imported rice has gone down significantly since last year. So, and we are not in competition like during the El Nino period. During the El Nino period, tinamaan lahat ng ASEAN countries. Kaya tumaas ang presyo kasi lahat namimili. Dito, dahil siniswerte tayo lang ang tinatamaan. Tinamaan tayo, so we're not competing. So the prices are staying at about 400 plus, $400 per ton. So that's still so our imported rice should be at that price. Titignan natin, of course, we'll do everything to control the price of the food, especially all of those products that have been damaged or destroyed by Pepito. Not only Pepito, the whole series of typhoons that have come. 6 typhoons in 3 weeks. Never in the history. Nangyari na raw yun eh. In 1946. It happened in 1946. But in my lifetime, I haven't seen it. Siguro kayo din.
70 years. 70 years.
Since just after the war. So we're back to that. So we just have to deal with it. All right. Thank you.
Salamat, sir.